Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see in the picture today, let's start the story of what if Issei awaken the legendary wielder and become Dragon Slayer Part 2. Before we start, please go support DragongodAstaroth for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. Chapter 3: A Trip to Paradise and the Scarlet Demonic Sword Princess. A rural side of New York. Next day, third path. It was a beautiful morning in the countryside of New York. The birds were chirping, the rivers were flowing all so peacefully with no interruption, and if one could listen closely, they could hear some of the natural wildlife like deer and rabbits going around and foraging for food. All of these noises had the sense of true peace and quiet and made anyone feel that they're in a dream. That is what it felt to a certain purple-haired girl who was slowly opening her eyes. For an evolved Leviathan, she just had the best sleep in her entire life, even more from when she was in her sleeping disease state. She couldn't help but think it was because of the young man that she met yesterday. Sleeping with Issei made the Leviathan feel so warm and safe, which she hardly felt during her time before the sleeping disease, since the only people that made her feel this was her parents. But they're already long gone, and even though she still has family members, they probably wouldn't accept her since she was a half-breed or was just user because of her sacred gear. But with Issei, not only did she feel safe, but also a bit confident in herself, as if as long as she was with Issei, she could practically do anything that she set her mind on. Speaking of the brown-haired boy, as Invald finally started to wake up, she noticed that he wasn't in the sleeping bag anymore. Invald looks around confused. Issei-san? Where are you? Issei smiles softly. Finally awake, Ingvild surprised. As Ingvild turned around, she saw Issei casually sitting on a log while cooking what seemed to be deer as well as some fish. Issei smiles softly. Sorry if I scared you, but I thought it would be best to hunt us some breakfast before we head out to our next destination. Even though it was true that Issei did hunt some deer and caught some fish in order for him and Ingold, in actuality, he wanted to get himself acquainted with the Red Queen, since the sooner he got used to it the better. Plus, as Issei thought it was really cool to hold, a part of him kept on imagining he was some kind of badass edgy steampunk swordsman with a weirdly modified but up-ass weapon. This of course made Nero's sweat drop on how his student using his sword that he made himself, but in the end shrugged it off since he at least trying to learn how to use it properly. Though Natsu felt a tinge of jealousy towards his student little brother since he thought the concept of what Issei was doing with the Red Queen was cool and wanted to try it out for himself. Ingvild smiles. Oh well. Thank you, Issei-san. As Essiel and Ingvild were finishing up the meal that Essiel had caught, Ingvild decided to ask the obvious question, which was what was their next point of action. Ingvild curious. Oh, Essiel-san, where are we going next? Essiel shrugged shoulders. Don't know yet. Ingvild confused. But I thought you knew where all of your swords are located. Issei nods. First of all, none of these swords belong to me, and that the sword I found in Manhattan belonged to my predecessor. Second, I don't know where the swords are located since only my predecessor knows where they are, and I've just been following his direction. Ingvild nods. Oh, I see. They say serious. But to answer your question, the reason why I don't know is because my predecessor felt something weird going on with the next sword, so he wanted to make sure I'm not going into something that is out of my hands, or I just show up and the sword is already taken. But he did say it will be a little while before he can give us the go-head to head to our next destination, which kind of sucks since I wanted to sightsee a little bit more in time and the Big Apple. Ingvild nervous while pressing her fingers together. Then why don't we do that then? They say serious. We can't do that, Ingvild, since there's still a chance that Risbium's minions will still be there looking for you. Ingvild blushes nervously. Yeah? But knowing them, they already searched all over the city by now, given how persistent they were when they came after me with Elfman-sama. Plus, it is possible that they're most likely going to try and look for us here, so wouldn't it be safer if we went back? Blushes nervously while twiddling her fingers. Also, I always wanted to see New York City. Greg serious. She does make somewhat of a valid point, partner. ISSE. I mind curious. What do you mean, Drake? Drake serious. Well, think about it. Those devils were working for a descendant of Lucifer who I know from experience, since I fought him as one cruel and sadistic bastard. Even with him and the original Devil Kings along with God and their armies, when it came time to stop me and Albion, he was cruel to his subordinates, that even if any of them tried running away from the fight that he would kill them before they could fully escape. If his son is anything like him, then most likely those subordinates will most likely be killed. If they didn't return with the Leviathan girl, I guess you could say that they're also buying a few moments left to live as well. Isse. I mind serious. I see. Issei sighs. Alright then, smiles softly. I guess we have time to least hit up some of the most important spots before we head off to our next destination. And Vold excited, really? Issei nods, that's right, serious. But first we should change your outfit so that we don't draw attention to ourselves. Smirks, I think I just got the perfect outfit in mind. Snap. With a snap of his fingers, Issei was able to change Ingvold's outfit into something more casual so that they would blend in. When it was done, Ingvold was wearing a purple t-shirt with sea blue serpent design that went around the shirt, and on top of it, she wore a black jacket with purple outlines. She wore black jeans with black and purple Vans, and to finish the outfit, Issei gave her a cute little purple beanie with a red dragon logo on it. When it was done, Ingvold was amazed by how well Issei made her design, since not even she was this good at making clothes with magic, though she did feel a bit embarrassed how the outfit was kind of hugging her curves and breasts, but decided to ignore it since it was Issei that made it for her. All the while Issei was grinning with pride on how well he made Ingvold's outfit as well, giving himself an extra pat on the back that he didn't accidentally make her outfit too sexy or perverted, which was a sign that his perversion was under control, in which Drake, Natsu, and Nero were proud of their host student for making great progress, though he couldn't help blush at how cute Ingvold looked, especially since the outfit was hugging her breasts and curves quite nicely. Shaking his perverted thoughts away, he decided to ask Ingvold the obvious question. Issei smiles, well, Ingvold, what do you think? Ingvold in awe, this is amazing, Issei, and not even I'm this good at making clothes with magic, and this outfit is amazing. Issei smiles softly, well, glad you like it. Now then, offers her his hand, shall we enjoy the sights? Lady Ingvold winks. Ingvold completely red or high. But that said, Issei deactivated the barrier that he put up around the campsite, and opened a magic circle that would take them to the same abandoned building. Issei arrived here in the first place. Meanwhile, in New York City, within the alleyways of Manhattan, we see two women staring at the dead body of a large tan man who was covered in cuts and bruises. The first was a young petite girl with short white hair and blue eyes. She wore a white shirt with a blue jean jacket on top of it. She wore a dark bluish-green skirt and tan boots. The second was a slim young woman of below average height. She has long, white hair which curls slightly at the ends with two bangs framing her face and reaching down to her chest. She had hair tied up on a ponytail. She has large blue eyes and a curvy, voluptuous body with large breasts. She wore the attire of that gothic punk girl with a lacy purple bra-like top with black leather strap right under it with 4 metal silver pins on it. On top of it, she wore a black leather jacket with dark purple bands on it. She wore a black leather skirt with dark purple knee socks and black biker boots. Both women started to cry since they knew who this man was, this Elfman Strauss, after succumbing to his wounds after fighting off the servants of Rizavum to give Issei and Ingvold enough time to escape. Sobsonic, and why just why? Shedding tears, you idiot, you weren't supposed to die like this. It was supposed to be just a simple escort mission. How the fuck did it turn out like this? When both of them noticed how Elfman was late to the rendezvous point in order to take Lady Ingvold to the underworld to meet with the current male, they started to worry. But when they saw that it had been an entire, they decided to look for him. They started to trace to the last known point where Elfman used his takeover magic. But when they arrived, they were greeted by a horrifying sight in which they saw their brother dead and Lady Ingvold nowhere in sight. Sobs Morahin-san, what do we do now? Morahin Strauss was the oldest member out of the Strauss siblings, as well as the strongest ever since their parents died due to the old Satan faction incompetence. She essentially had to be the mother-parent figure for her younger brother Elfman and younger sister Lisanna. But since they were part of the Strauss family, they were blood bond to serve Leviathan family. But when the other nobles of the Leviathan told the Strauss siblings about Ingvold and about her situation, as well as the way she acts unlike her relative, Katera, They thought this girl was definitely worth serving. Morahan serious. I don't know Lysana, but first thing first is that we give Elfman a proper burial since he doesn't deserve to be left for dead like some piece of trash. Lysana nods right. As the two Stroh sisters were getting to transport Elfman's body back to the underworld, Morahan noticed something on Elfman's body. When she went to inspect it, she saw her family's magic circle which had pictures of different animals circling around each other. But what surprised them more was Elfman's voice. This shocked the two sisters since that meant Elfman left them a message before he died, most likely telling them what happened to Lady Ingvild. The Elfman recording serious Lysana Marhan Nie Sand if you're listening to this. Sad, and that means that I'm probably dead. Serious, but that doesn't mean I failed in our mission. Lisan Marhan surprised. The Elfman recording. Serious, before my death, fighting the people that were after Lady Ingvild, a boy who serves the heiress of the House of Gremry, came and asked what was going on. When I told him of my mission and our situation, he offered his assistance, but sadly, the pursuers found us. And not wanting to get hurt or kidnapped in the fight, I told the boy to run and take Lady Ingvild with him despite his persistence to stay and help me. If you're wondering who he is, his name is Issei Hyoudou. He is this generation's Red Dragon Emperor. This shocked the Stroh sisters on so many levels, since their mistress is not only under the protection of the Red Dragon Emperor, though a part of them were relieved that Lady Ingvild didn't fall into enemy hands, as well as being proud of Elfman for seeing his mission through. But one thing was for sure, and that was that they needed to find this Issei Hyoudou person and see if he was making sure Ingvild was safe. Were I in serious? Okay. First thing first, we'll take Elfman's body back to the underworld for a proper burial. Afterwards, we're looking for Issei Hyoudou to see if Lady Ingvild is safe. Asana nods Highness. But that said, the two put Elfman's body into a magic circle and transport it to the underworld. Scene change. New York City, Ellis Island. Ever since Issei and Ingvild arrived back in Manhattan, they've been having a complete blast exploring what the city has to offer. They started by going up to the Empire State Building, which held an amazing view of the city. Then afterwards they went to Times Square, which Ingvild really enjoyed since all the screens and pretty were just astonishing to her, especially since she's technically over 100 years old. At each of the sites, they would both take a selfie together to help commemorate the special time they spent together, all the while Ddraig would snicker at Issei about him enjoying his date, in which Issei quickly denied it. Though even with Ingvild's disguise they both received a lot of attention and stares from everyone, which Ingvild got extremely nervous due to her shy nature. Almost everyone thought they were a young hot celebrity couple going out on a date, though there were some guys who would occasionally get cocky and try to go up to Ingvild with lustful intention, which of course the young Leviathan held on to his say tighter, and whenever he saw someone Ingvild uncomfortable, he would shoot them with a death glare, telling them to back off or else. Right now, they were on top of the Statue of Liberty, enjoying the view of the ocean as well as the city. Ingvild and all, wow, this view is amazing. Assisen. Oh, I completely agree, this scene is so breathtaking. Makes me want to visit other famous towers like the one in Paris. I honestly make traveling a hobby of mine. The fresh and new atmosphere is also exhilarating. Ingvild blushes nervously. Do you think I can come with you when you decide to do that? Issei nods happily. Of course, besides I think traveling is a lot better when you're with friends and loved ones. Don't you agree? Ingvild nods happily. Hi. It was then Ingvild happily grabbed onto Essei's arm with a joyful smile on her face. Issei was honestly surprised at how quickly the descendant of Leviathan was close to him, since they've only known each other for only a day. Issei thought of it as mostly their affinity for dragons, which was able to help them trust each other, but he also believed it was also due to her shy and sheltered nature that made her draw to Issei, since he was confident and outgoing, in which he couldn't help but compare this to his and Asia's relationship, since it felt so similar in nature. Though he wouldn't deny he enjoyed Ingvild's company, whether it was due to his draconic nature or not. As the two gazed towards the ocean, Issei's thoughts were interrupted by Nero. Nero serious. Hey kid. You ready? Issei, I mind surprised. Nero curious. I'm guessing you found out what's going on with the next sword. Nero serious. That's right, and it's not good. Issei. I mind curious. What do you mean? Nero's serious. From what I'm sensing from the sword, it seems someone is already at the location and is trying to claim the sword for themselves. So far the sword is resisting since they don't find whoever is trying to claim it worthy. But something it's not gonna last forever, so it's best that we head out now. Mind serious. Okay then. Where to? Nero's serious. We're going to Niihau in Hawaii. Mind smiles in delight. Sweet. I've always wanted to go to Hawaii. Issei serious. I got the next location that we need to go to and we're leaving now. Ingvild curious. Where are we going next? Issei smiles. We're going to Hawaii? Ingvild smiles with delight. Wow, we're going to the beach. Issei smiles. That's right. But that being said, Issei and Ingvild made their way to an area with no eyes or cameras on them, in which Issei summoned the magic circle, taking them to their tropical destination. Scene change. Hawaii, Niihau, 4:21 p.m. In the beautiful islands that make up the state of Hawaii, there lies secluded from the rest due to the residents not wanting to come into contact with new diseases. This island was called Niihau, or otherwise known the Forbidden Island, since the island was off limits from tourists unless given permission from the permanent residents of the island. Due to its seclusion, the population of the island is just under 100 people, which makes it an easy place for someone to hide in without drawing too much attention, at least for a short time. That is, at one of the few beaches of the island, a red magic circle appeared, and out came a young handsome brown-haired man, accompanied by a beautiful purple-haired woman. This was Issei Hyoudou, an envoled Leviathan, of course, who just arrived in search for the blade that Issei's mentor Nero told him to find. When they arrived, Issei noticed that he only had a slight nauseating headache and a slight loss of balance. This caused Issei to smile in absolute joy, since this was a sign that he was closer to hopefully master his senses as a dragon, but as well as being immune to motion on vehicles and transportation circles. Issei smiles. Oh, thanks, Satan. I didn't throw up this time. In veiled concern. Are you okay, Issei-san? Issei smiles. I'm fine, in veiled. It's just I'm kind of sensitive to being in moving vehicles and transportation circles, but I think I'm finally starting to be able to get over it. In veiled concern. Okay. If you say, smiles warmly, this place is so beautiful. Issei smiles that I can agree on, smirks, but I think we won't be able to enjoy our stay here if we're dressed like a bunch of city kids. Don't you think, winks? Snap. With the snap of his fingers, Issei was able to change both his and Ingvald's outfit to something more tropical-like. For Ingvald, she had a nice white two-piece bikini with a light purple transparent skirt with dark purple flowers on it. She wore light purple sandals as well, and on top she had a tan sun hat with a pink band around it. Ingvald was both shocked and amazed again at how Issei was able to make clothing through magic, since even though it wasn't uncommon in the supernatural world, it was still impressive on how detailed it was. She wasn't alone, since even Ddraig was impressed by his host's skill of creating clothing through magic when he taught Issei technique. He was surprised how quickly he was able to pick up on it, especially since he had no talent for magic to begin with. It also made the legendary dragon curious on what other secrets and hidden potential his host had in store. He even believed that his host with some practice can even possibly make armor out of nothing. Ingvald smiles with amazement. Wow, Issei. Sen, this looks amazing. Looks to Issei. Thank you? So blushes madly. When Ingvald turned to see Issei, her face became as red as Ria's Gremry's hair. Issei was wearing a simple red zipped-up hoodie, which exposed his well-earned six-pack, blue swim trunks and red sandals. Now Ingvald had a rough idea that Issei was fairly muscular, given how he felt when she slept next to him the other. But to actually see it with her own eyes was a completely different story, since not only he had a face that would make any girl fall in love with him, but he also had the body and power to help back it up. As Ingvald couldn't help but stare at Issei while staring at his abs, her thoughts were interrupted by the same person to whom those abs belonged to. Issei. Curious, Ingvald snaps fingers. Hello Earth to Ingvald. Ingvald startled. How blushes embarrassingly. I'm sorry, I was just surprised how good your outfit was. Issei blinks in confusion. Okay, thanks, curious. How do you like your swimsuit? Ingvald smiles happily. Oh, I love it. Again, you created something amazing, smiles. Well, I'm glad you like it. I'm serious. Okay. Nero, where do I go? Nero, serious. You see that small island out in the distance that looks like a crescent moon? That's where you need to go. As Issei looked off into the distance, he saw the crescent-shaped island, and thanks to his training with his senses, he could tell that there were devils on that island, which made Issei think that they could be working with Rispium. Realizing that maybe taking Ingvold would be a bad idea, he looked to the Leviathan descendant with a serious and concerned look. They say serious, Ingvold, I need you to stay here while I go to that island and get the sword. Ingvold, confused, why? They say serious. Well, not only I might have to fight a whole horde of demons, but from what I can sense a couple of devils there as well. I'm afraid they could be working for Risavim, and if I were to bring you with me, then I might intentionally give him what he wants. Ingvild. Curious, then what should we do? Issei, thinking, sighs, I need to go to that island, Ingvild, because I need that sword. If I ever going to get stronger to protect, I care that goes for you too. Ingvild blushes, Issei-san. Issei, serious, that's why I need you to stay here. As soon as Issei said that, he used his dragon clone technique and made a copy of himself. Issei, serious, this copy of me will stay here and protect you while I'm gone. If anything were to happen to me, then I made it so that this clone will immediately open a magic circle back to my master Rias. When that happens, I want you to go in there no matter what. Can you promise me that, Ingvold? Ingvold, nervous? Yes, say, serious, please, Ingvold. If you don't promise, I won't be able to focus if I have to fight, which will no doubt kill me. Ingvold, nervous, okay. Issei smiles warmly, thank you, Ingvold. Ingvold, nervous, but only if you promise to come back. Issei, confused. It was then Ingvold embraced Issei in a tight hug, not wanting to let go. This caught Issei by surprise, but it was then Ingvild began to speak, but he could feel through his skin that she shed a few tears. Ingvild shedding a few tears, I already lost Elfman-sama. I don't want to lose you too, Issei-san. When I finally woke up, I found that my family had already been dead. I was confused and alone. I essentially had no one to turn to for help. Elfman-sama was the only person that I knew when I woke up that was nice to me, even though it was out of loyalty to the Leviathan family. He was kind and caring like you. I don't want to lose everyone who has been so kind to me just because of my sacred gear, so please, Issei-sama, don't leave me too. Issei was saddened by what the young Leviathan just told him, and a part of him was horrible for not realizing it sooner. He had completely forgotten that this girl in front of him is actually over 100 years old. Both her parents and everyone else she had probably known are most likely long gone by now. He was probably the only real person that Ingvold has ever met that has treated her with kindness despite being only for a short time. It was then Issei separated himself from Ingvold and started wiping away the tears from her eyes, all while giving her a warm, graceful smile. Issei smiles warmly. I promise I will come back to you. Ingvold sniffles, you promise? Issei smiles warmly, of course, and that's a dragon's promise. Dragongodastaroth. Mind curious. My hope Dragon Necrokin won't be mad that I made this Issei say this. Grins, nah, he'll most likely laugh his ass off if he sees this. Ingvold smiles, okay, I'll be waiting. But that said, Issei spread open his dragon wings and flew over to the crescent-shaped island, leaving Ingvold with his clone behind for the time being. Scene change. Crescent Island. Issei had just landed on the Crescent Island. As soon as he did, he immediately concealed. Since he now can properly sense what he was up against. He was able to sense about 20 or so devils, with most of them being low to mid-class at best, and one of them being that of the high class close to ultimate class. But there are two things that Issei sensed that he found to be strange, the first one being that there was a human among the devils, but the human felt different from other humans. At first Issei thought that the human could possibly have a sacred gear, but Ddraig told him that it wasn't the case since he couldn't sense the typical sacred gear signature. Even if it was an artificial one, then it wouldn't be the case since even artificial would still need the basis of the concept of the original in order to work properly. For some reason that got Issei thinking about the concept of sacred gear in general, and if it was possible to create one that would surpass the original, but put that thought in the back of his mind and believed that the human was most likely a mage helping them. The second thing that Issei sensed was that of another demon, or two demons to be precise, in which Issei could tell were pretty powerful, that he might even need to use the boosted gear in order to take care of them. Issei guessed that it was probably the guardian of the sword being kept here, but the part that confused Issei was that he felt that wasn't doing anything, or to be more precise, it couldn't do anything, which led Issei to believe that the devils here must have sealed away the guardian away somewhere in order for them to have time to take the sword and leave. As Issei was getting closer to the entrance to where the sword was being held, he decided to ask Nero about the sword in question, since he was curious on why Issei with 3 separate swords when the Red Queen is plenty strong, and felt right with him. Issei mind serious. Oh Nero, what's the story behind this sword, since you haven't told me anything about it? Nero serious, the sword is called Dante, and just like the blade, its wielder was Dante Sparta, my annoying ass uncle. The story behind that sword was that it was originally known as Rebellion, that was forged by my grandfather Sparta, but one day Rebellion was shattered by Virgil, and in order to stand a chance against him, Dante stabbed himself what was left of Rebellion, and with my grandfather's last sword, which bare his name, he fused a new sword from the fusion of the two, which was called the Devil's Sword Dante. With that sword, not only was he able to beat Virgil, but unlock the full extent of his demonic abilities. Issei was both shocked and amazed that he was going to obtain the blade that was once wielded by the son of the legendary Dark Knight, Sparta, but he was more surprised that Nero believed that he could wield such a weapon. Then there was the part of Nero's story where Dante stabbed himself with the sword in order not to forge a new sword, but also to unlock the full potential of his demonic power. Issei thought about doing the same and see if he could do the same, but quickly shook that thought out of his head, since it was probably wasn't gonna be a guarantee success, as well as the fact it was mostly a Sparta thing in which it wouldn't apply to him. Issei, I mind confused, and you think I'm able to use a sword like that? Nero smirks. Yes, I do. Just like holy swords, the swords created by my grandfather are like his descendants, which are stubborn by nature and can be very picky on who they allow to be their wielder. Now, even if you are worthy of being its wielder, you won't be able to draw out at fullest potential since you're not a Spartaso. To help counteract this, I use the same technique that Ddraig used to turn into a dragon and put in a little bit of my own demonic power so that you should be able to use it close to its fullest potential. It shouldn't cause anything too drastic for you besides a slight increase, as well as change in your demonic energy should get the job done. Issei mind nods. Okay then. Let's do this. As Issei was now approaching the entrance to the area in which DSI was being held, he noticed 2 guards standing near the entrance. Issei noticed that the 2 guards were only low-class devils, which Issei should be able to take them down no problem. It was then Issei stepped out into the open, which surprised the 2 guards that a human was able to sneak up to them without notice. Devil Guard 1 serious. Stop right there. Devil Guard 2 serious. Surrender or die. Issei not wanting to draw attention to the others as well, making sure these guys didn't run away, report back to Respium about what happened here. He coded fist in black and red lighting since he wanted to finish this quickly. Issei serious lighting demon fist. But that call Issei dashed forwards to the 2 guards and with great force sent them both against the wall to the point that blood came out of their back and their eyes rolled up indicating that they were dead. The part of Issei felt a bit of concern for himself since he just killed 2 people and didn't feel any remorse or any form of disgust in himself, even though they were devils, and he has helped kill a few strays. These 2 were still perfectly sane and human-like. Dragon Natsu did tell him during his training that due to his body as well as his brain of being that of a dragon, his way of thinking will most likely change on top of the effects of being both a demon and dragon slayer. Even though his reasons for killing these devils might be justified, it didn't help change the fact in that it essentially confirmed in some ways he really did lose his humanity. But he quickly regained his composure and pressed on since he knew what he signed up for when Ddraig turned him into a dragon, and he couldn't keep Ingvild waiting forever. When got closer to the entrance, he saw a symbol next to it that was a similar design for when he was in New York. It was a black silhouette of a woman holding pistols in the air while striking a pose. Issei serious. Well, at least I'm heading in the right direction. As Issei began to descend down the path of leading towards where the legendary devil sword would be, Issei noticed the corpses of both the demons as well as the devils, similar to the ones he killed outside, signifying that the group of devils that were here lost, or to be more precise, sacrificed their comrades in order to get to the end of this dungeon. The thought angered to say the no end, since even though he would admit he would want more power, he wouldn't sacrifice his comrades or loved ones in order to obtain it, since it would go against the reason why he wanted to get stronger in the first place. When he made it to the bottom, what he saw made him think he was in a special dungeon room in a version of hell in any video game. What was a gladiator-style arena with the buildings made out of cobblestone and obsidian. There also lighting in the arena similar to that of modern arena, which Issei guessed must be from sort form of magic. There was also lighted torches all around the arena, and at the opposite side was a giant red and black door. But what caught Issei's attention about the door that it seemed that someone or rather something was trying to break out, and each time it did, Issei saw magic circles appearing trying to keep whatever inside stays. Issei looked round and saw there were devils all over the place, but with most of them wearing lab coats, hinting that they were scientists and researchers. There were also a few guards surrounding them, especially around that giant door. When Issei finally turned his gaze towards the middle of the arena, he saw a large two-handed sword made mostly of a dark substance that resembles solidified lava, with claws running up its length, talons for a handguard, and a red jewel on its pommel being stuck in the ground, which made it look like a demonic version of the story of the sword in the stone. When Issei saw the blade, he instantly felt a pull towards coming from the blade, which he didn't know if it was from Nero pouring a bit of his demonic energy into him, or if the sword was actually calling to him, or maybe it was a little bit of both. Issei's thoughts were quickly interrupted when he heard a girl screaming in pain, "Ah, HHHHHHHHSE, I'm mind shocked, what the?" In the middle of the arena next to DSD were two devil scientists, and between them was a young woman with long, scarlet hair and brown eyes. She has a slender, voluptuous figure that could only be described as amazing. But she was chained up in the air by her hands and legs. She only had on what seemed to be a ragged black turtleneck shirt that seemed to only cover up to the upper parts of her thighs. But what horrified Issei and what was happening to her, the devil scientists were injecting black rods into her forcefully while trying to extract something from her, but it didn't seem to work. Mind horrified, this is just like what happened to Asia. The thought of that night where Asia was killed by Rainer made him fuel with so much anger and rage, not just because Rainer killed for her sacred gear, but the fact Issei was too weak to stop it from happening. It was the other reason why Issei stopped being a weak and worthless pervert, because he didn't want what happened to Asia ever again. He wanted to make sure he was stronger and faster to save before it was too late. As Issei's anger started to grow, his body started to change slightly, to which not only his draconic wings came out, but he also started to grow black and red horns on his head, as well as a tail. His hands too started to change into claws with black molten scales on them. This was the true form of a dragon slayer, otherwise known as the Dragon Force. It was then Issei let out a mighty dragon roar, which brought all the attention of the devils that were in the arena. This also caused some of the devils to be scared, since that roar came from a dragon, and even a Satan class would be worried of the presence of a dragon no matter the rank. Devil scientist, scared guards, kill that thing. As ordered, all of the devils started to converge on Issei, not knowing that what they were doing was essentially running towards their certain death. Making that statement true, it was then Issei said something that would make the last thing these devils see was the spiral pool of a blazing inferno. Issei serious dragon slayer secret art. Crimson lotus exploding flame blade. It was then Issei swiped his arms in a circular fashion, creating a powerful and highly destructive torrent of flames that barrages the devils, as well as turning them into ash. The two devil scientists that were next to Scarlet Hair Girl as well as DSD had to put up defensive barriers in order to try to survive the blast, which really do much for them since their barriers were quickly, and they soon perished along with the of the soldiers. But Issei made sure that the flames didn't hit the girl that was chained up. Once the flames died out, Issei made his way to the Scarlet Hair Girl. He grabbed the chains that were binding her, and using his fire magic, he melted the chains with his hands. It was then the mysterious girl almost fell face first before Issei caught her when she started to slowly open only to see a brown-haired boy with horns on head with a saddened expression on his face. She decided to ask the obvious question. Confused weakly, "Who are you?" Issei smiles softly, "It's okay, the nightmare is over now. The name is Issei Hyoudou and who are you?" Confused weakly. "What are you doing here?" Issei looks at DSD. "I was told to retrieve that sword there." The girl was confused as well as a little bit surprised that this boy was here for the legendary sword Devil Sword Dante, who with her who had an unparalleled capacity for demonic swords on top of magic swords in general, wasn't able to make it submit to her. As she looked into Issei's eyes, she saw fire in those eyes, the flames of undying passion and determination to see things through till the end. It was then Issei noticed how the mysterious man was staring at him in awe. Issei, concerned, "Are you okay?" Startled, grabs her head. "Yes, I'm just dizzy, I guess." Issei, concerned, "I see, in that case, let's get you out of here." Serious. "Hold it right there, lowborn." Issei confused. When Issei and the mysterious girl turned around, they saw a good-looking man wearing the clothes of a noble. His clothes were black with dark red belts and motifs as well as had a cape. He had black hair tied up in a small ponytail and violet eyes. He also had pointy ears and pale skin. It was then Issei could tell that this must have been the high-class devil that he sensed when he landed. Issei's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" Annoyed. "How dare you speak to me that you, low-born, I am your superior as well as your true king of the underworld. I am Riser Asmodeus, the descendant of the original devil king Asmodeus. I demand you to tell me who you are and what you are doing here." "Say, Syria, so you're a descendant of the original devil king, I see. In that case, tell me this. Are you working with Risby and live in Lucifer?" Crucifix. Shocked. "What? That foolish old devil is after this sword as well." Annoyed. "Damn. At first he refuses to help the old Satan faction, then he says he doesn't care about his title of Lucifer or ruling the underworld. But now when he finds out that I'm about to get the one of the devil's swords of Sparta, he thinks he can come in and take it from me. ISSE, I'm confused, that's odd. I mean, shouldn't they be working together? I mean, I would think as descendants, as the original devil king would be working together if they wanted to take over the underworld." Bragg thinking, "My guess, I shouldn't be entirely surprised given that even the original devil kings were mostly in it for themselves. It was only because their shared hatred for God is what made them work together during the Great War. But now that God is dead, I would imagine their descendants don't have a strong enough shared goal to unite and fight as one." Mind serious. "I see." During training, Drake decided to reveal to him that the biblical God died shortly after his imprisonment with Albion inside the sacred gears. At first was surprised about the information, but then slowly realized it kind of made sense to him, since if God was as good as he's depicted, then Asia wouldn't have been forsaken, and that devil wouldn't have gotten close to her if he was watching her like he's supposed to. He decided to keep that information to himself and especially not tell it to Asia, since despite being a devil, she still held God in such high regard, and if she were to find out that the being she adored was actually gone all this time, it would completely break her, and he didn't want that to happen to Asia after all she's been through. "But say serious, well, I don't work for Risvium, and since you are not with the current government, that would naturally make you my enemy." "Crucerian? No. I don't think just because you were able to take down a bunch of low and mid devils you think take on the likes of me, boy. I am the descendant of the original devil king, ISSEI, mind sweat drops while deadpanning. Are all the descendants of the original devil kings like this?" Sighs and relief. "Thank goodness Ingvald is not like this." Issei sighs in annoyance while pinching the bridge of his nose. "Look, I don't have time for this, since not only I have to take this girl to get some medical treatment, but I also have to grab the sword since I have someone waiting for me. Since I can't let you live or else you'll just tell your group about me, which I can't have, so I'll just end this quickly and kill you." Krukeri annoyed. "Why, you little..." Enraged by being insulted by a low-class devil, Kruzeri summoned dozens of magic circles and started blasting towards Issei and the mysterious girl, in which Issei put his own magic circle to block the attack. Not wanting for the scarlet-haired beauty to get caught in the crossfire, he summoned another dragon clone to take her up to one of the buildings where she would be safe. Once Issei saw that the mysterious girl was out of harm's way, deciding to end this quickly, he coated his right hand in demonic lighting. Issei's serious lighting demon sting. It was then at lightning speed, using his hand as a sharp blade appeared right in front of Krukeri and pierced him right through the heart. As Krukeri stumbled back towards the wall, he began to cough serious amount of blood while being in excruciating pain, since not only his heart was destroyed, but his entire body was essentially burning as if he was struck by something holy and divine. But he could have soared. What he felt was purely demonic by nature, feeling that his life in this world was slowly closing and he was confused. A lowly reincarnated devil was able to defeat him so easily. He, Crucerius Asmodeus, the descendant of the original devil king Asmodeus, was easily killed by a simple reincarnated savage who had no right to call himself a devil. Seeing that his life was essentially over, he decided that he wasn't going to leave this world without a fight and decided to undo seals that he placed on the giant red and black door, since if he couldn't have the power of Sparta, then no one would. Krusei coughs out blood. You may have defeated me, boy, but sadly, you won't be leaving here alive. Issei was confused on what the descendant of Asmodeus was saying, since he knew that blow he made was fatal and was not long for this world. It was then Krukeri summoned a magic circle and began to undo the seals that he had placed on the door. Issei, now realizing what Kruseri meant, that he wasn't gonna leave this place alive, he got into a battle-ready stance as well as ready the boosted gear in hand, since he knew that this opponent was no pushover and would have to fight seriously in order to win. When the final seal that was placed on the giant door was gone, the door was busted wide open, and out came a tall, winged humanoid demon with 2 ridged horns and purple glowing eyes. Its entire body is covered with dark gray, metallic armor. It has 2 wings which it usually holds circling its shoulders. It wielded an enormous sword consisting of 4 distinct blades with thorn-like serrations with a hollow center which glows purple lightning cracking over the blades. The demonic knight was riding an enormous armored horse with glowing blue horns and a mane of blue flame. Upon seeing the guardian of the devil's sword, Dante Issei summoned the Red Queen, since he believed this was going to be a battle between blades, and started revving the blade in anticipation. The demonic knight, seeing Issei reading his blade, decided to ready his own and began to charge right towards the Red Dragon Emperor. As Issei started to ready to meet the demonic knight with his blade with his own, something happened as the demonic knight got closer to Issei. Out of nowhere, Issei felt his movement was a lot slower, as if time was being slowed around him, and he was aware what was going. But it seemed that the demonic knight was unaffected and took advantage of Issei's state, and was about to strike Issei down. Issei, collecting his bearings, decided to ask Nero what he was dealing with. Issei mind serious, what the hell was that? Nero, do you have any idea what I'm dealing with? Nero serious, yeah, you're dealing with an elder Girian knight. The demonic knight on top is called Cavalier Angelo and is a special artificial type demon that can be quite troublesome due to his speed and control of demonic lighting. Eyes narrowed, but the real main obstacle is the horse. Issei mind confused, what's so special about the horse? How is it the real problem? Nero serious. Yeah, that horse is known as a Girian, which is a rare and practically extinct race of demons in the underworld that has the ability to control local time, which is what you just experienced. If you want to stand any chance of defeating this guy, we'll have to kill the horse first, since that time-slowing ability will definitely be the death of you. Issei mind annoyed any advice in order to help counteract that ability. Nero serious. The Girian's ability to slow down time is not absolute, since it only has a certain radius, and being stronger than it will make you become unaffected by it. So I would start by boosting your power as well. Try to learn the radius of the time-slowing radius. Once you figure that out, it shouldn't be too much trouble to take off the horse. Eyes sighs. Alright, then let's do this. Boost. But that call made Eyes started to charge towards Cavalier Angelo while boosting this power to hopefully make himself immune to the Girian's time manipulation ability. As Issei got closer to the legendary demonic horse, he started to look closely of any hidden signals that would let him know when Girian would use its time manipulation ability. It was then he noticed how the Girian's fiery mane would randomly combust when time around his Issei was slowed. Thanks to the few boosts that he accumulated, he was able to move a lot more freely in the time-frozen field than he did before. Seeing how started to figure out how Jiren's abilities worked as well. Figuring out the radius in which the horse time manipulation could reach, Issei decided it was finally time to fight back. It was then Issei started to aim for the horse's legs and head, since without either of them, the horse would obviously be useless and Cavalier Angelo will not have a surefire way to defeat Issei. Cavalier Angelo, seeing Issei's plan, tried to stop Issei by bringing down torrents of demonic lighting upon the arena in order to hopefully either kill him or stop him from doing so. But Issei was not affected by it due to his superior instincts. He was able to dodge them at almost the perfect moment, and due to his ability as a lighting demon slayer, he was able to absorb, swallow the lighting that he couldn't dodge, which in turn rejuvenated him. Seeing that it was time to end this once and for all, he revved up the Red Queen and jumped into the air and performed a powerful and fast spinning attack aiming straight for Jiren's head. Cavalier Angelo tried shooting bolts of demonic lighting to stop Issei, but the force and speed that the Red Queen was going at nullified the incoming bolts. In the end, Issei was able to cut off the head of the Jiren. The death of the Jiren caused a huge explosion that knocked off both Cavalier Angelo and Issei to opposite sides of the arena. The mysterious girl hid further into the building with Issei's clone trying his best to protect her. When Issei again collected his bearings from what he saw, where the Jiren used to be was a bright blue glowing orb that soon flew towards Issei and entered his body. This confused Issei since he had no idea on what was happening to him. But before he could ask the occupants of his soul of what happened to him, the arena that he was standing on crumbled a bit, and bits of debris from the ceiling came crashing down. But before one of them could land on Issei, it stopped in midair right in front of him. When Issei looked around, he saw that the rest of debris had also stopped, which made him finally connect the dots and realize that he somehow obtained the Jiren's power to control time. As Issei decided to poke the frozen debris, which just floated up into the air more, he noticed that Cavalier Angelo was still alive and thought it was time to finish this once and for all. Issei serious time to finish once and for all. As Issei walked towards Cavalier Angelo to hopefully finish the demonic knight once and for all, he passed by the legendary devil sword Dante. As got close to the sword, the pull that he felt earlier felt stronger than it did before, as if the sword had already found him worthy of being his wielder and wanted him to pick it up. Seeing no reason to resist, Issei put away the Red Queen back into his pocket dimension and grabbed onto the devil sword Dante. Issei could already feel the demonic power dwelling within the blade to the point that it was almost intoxicating. But Issei steeled his mind because he didn't want this newfound power corrupt him, since the whole point of him of trying to gain power was to protect his family and loved ones. As Issei lifted DSD from the ground where it was placed, it felt fairly heavy, though not as heavy as the Red Queen. The Scarlet Beauty who was watching from the building was staring in awe that Issei was able to lift the demonic sword that couldn't do before. Issei then quickly looked at the blade and couldn't deny the unique design of it, and that it truly looked and felt like it belonged to a knight of hell itself. Though a part of Issei's mind felt a strange sense of familiarity in the back of his mind when holding and looking at the blade, like if he felt the power dwelling deep within blade before. But before Issei could further inspect the blade, Cavalier Angelo rose up with his blade ready. Issei, serious, right? I almost forgot about you. Swings DSD a few times. Let's finish this. As Issei with DSD ready in hand, he charged at Cavalier Angelo at breakneck speeds as Cavalier did the same. As the two locked their blades with their demonic power, releasing fighting over for dominance, Cavalier saw something behind Issei. It was a shadowy figure that appeared to be demonic in nature and had glowing red eyes. This, for some reason, sent a shiver down the demon's spine. As Cavalier and Issei separated from each other, Cavalier Angelo finally spoke, but it was what he said that confused Issei and the rest of the occupants inside his soul that confused him greatly. Cavalier Angelo, serious Sparta. Issei mind confused, why did it just call me Sparta? Nero confused, I don't know. It could be that you're using Dante's sword, which has the power of the devil's sword. Sparta bedded within it thinks you're a descendant of Sparta. Issei mind eyes narrow maybe, but I don't think that was it for some reason. Putting what Cavalier said to Issei on the back of his mind, Issei charged at him again, in which this time the two of them engaged in clashing of blades, each of them going faster and faster with each swing, Nero was honestly surprised at how well his student was keeping up with the demonic knight, since he wasn't that good before. Greg chimed in and theorized that Issei learns quicker when in the middle of a battle since it forces him to evolve and think at a faster rate, which is rare for most warriors including his hosts, with the exception of Natsu, who shared the same ability, while also making him think on his feet and become stronger when his life's on the line. As the two warriors were battling for dominance over the other, with each of them countering and parrying each other's attack with perfect precision and technique, to the sole onlooker who was watching in the battle in absolute amazement on how well these two warriors were almost on equal terms of one another, she thought that this battle could last for an eternity if they so wanted to. But it was then Issei finally got the upper hand and was able to make Cavalier drop his sword, and before Cavalier Angelo could react or tried to counter Issei's attack, Issei stabbed Cavalier where the heart should be. It was then the warriors stood there without moving a muscle. It was as though time had completely frozen. It wasn't until a few moments later Cavalier started to disintegrate into particles, and just like Jiren, Cavalier into a ball of light. But instead of going into his Issei like the Jiren, it glowed brighter, blinding both his Issei and the scarlet-haired girl. When the light down, what his Issei saw made him widen his eyes in awe. In front of him was a black motorcycle created from sections of Cavalier Angelo's demonic metal armor with a front fairing that resembles Cavalier Angelo's helmet, batwing-like decorative extensions to the side fairing and double-sided serrated blades, extending from the point where the front fork meets the wheel. The saying, "Oh, whoa, did I just get a free bike?" Nero chuckles kind of. What you see is the devil arm known as Cavalier that takes the form of a motorcycle, but can change into twin buzz saws. Smirks, if I remember correctly that this was one of Dante's favorite devil arms. Mind confused, what's a devil's arm? Nero's serious devil arms are demonic, variably sentient weapons that are commonly the manifestation of a defeated demon's solar power. When wielded, devil arms often convey their power to the wielder, provided they have been subdued first. The devil sword Dante can be considered as a devil arm since it was imbued with Dante's and Sparta's demonic power. But to make it simple for you, you think of them as like purely demonic sacred gears per se. Issei was amazed since not only obtained the sword that he came to collect in the first place, but he also got a new weapon, one that he uses as a form of transportation, but he also got a new ability, which was no doubt would come in handy for his future battles. It was then he remembered that he still had to take the mysterious scarlet-haired beauty back to Ingold in order to get medical treatment. As such, he placed both Cavalier and DSD inside a pocket dimension and jumped to where the girl was, all while dispelling his clone. Issei concerned, "Are you okay?" Nods in amazement, "Yes, but just who are you?" Issei smiles softly, "My name is Issei Hyoudou, and I'm this generation's Red Dragon Emperor." The mysterious girl was now beyond shocked. This boy in front of her that saved her from being tortured was actually the Red Dragon Emperor. Seeing the girl's reaction, Issei thought it was cute the way she acted and couldn't help but chuckle. Issei chuckles, "Come on, let's get you all patched up, shall we?" Blushes, right, thank you." It was then Issei put the scarlet-haired beauty in his arms and carried her bridal style. The two made their way out of the demonic arena. As Issei and the mysterious girl finally made out the dungeon and onto the outside world, where Issei noticed that it was nighttime already, in which sweat dropped knowing that Ingvald was probably going to be crying all over him, and telling him how sick she made her feel to the point that she might have gone back into sleeping disease state. As the two walked through the jungle to get to the beach where Issei could fly back to Niahau, the girl that he was carrying finally let out a sigh of relief knowing that there wasn't anyone else waiting for them to fight. Smiles weakly, Urza Scarlet. Issei confused, what was that? Urza smiles weakly, you asked me what my name was, it's Urza Scarlet. Those were the last things that Urza said before closing her eyes, needing much required rest after the hellish torture she has been through. Couldn't help smiling fondly in more ways than one. Urza smiles warmly. Urza Scarlet smiles warmly. I must say that name fits you perfectly. Drake grumbles in annoyance and jealousy. I swear if she starts to become a member of your harem, I'm going to be so pissed at you. ISSE, I mind sweat drop, and like that a sweet and pure of innocence moment was ruined by the red dragon of domination, who seems to get easily annoyed whenever I meet a female. Honestly, Ddraig, with all this jealousy that you're admitting, I'm starting to think that you probably died a virgin. Dragonid, Hey, I have you know that I've slept with plenty of dragon females in my day, and all of them were happily satisfied with my performance. Issei. My mind smirks and was one of them named Tiamat. This caused the legendary red dragon to go pale within the boosted gear, which Issei sensed. During his training, Issei asked Ddraig if there any particular besides the white one that would come after him specifically, in which Ddraig told him about Tiamat, who was the strongest of the now 5 Dragon King and who was responsible for the majority of the deaths of his past wielders. The reason being that before his big fight with Albion, he had borrowed one of Tiamat's treasures which broke during their battle. Since Ddraig was killed and sealed away before returning her treasure, Tiamat became furious at Ddraig and took her anger out on all of his hosts. Ddraig warned Issei that she will most likely come after you first before the White One will and has to be ready. Ddraig. Curious, putting that aside, you seem to be pretty chipper, and it revolves around that red-headed beauty that you're carrying. Mine smiles fondly while looking at her as don't you see, Ddraig? I feel like I've finally redeemed myself after what happened to Asia. If I didn't show up when I did, then no doubt Kruzri would have her killed, but I saved her before I could let that happen. I've finally felt I'd become strong enough to protect and save the people I care about before the worst can happen to them. Greg smiles. Now I see. Just to think you've only scratched the surface of your potential. Natsu grins. Big bro is right to say, you honestly have the potential to become a dragon god, and the fact you're this strong already shows that you're evolving at much faster rate than the previous hosts, including myself. Issei, mine smiles warmly. I know, and I promise to make both of you proud and become the strongest red dragon. No, the new red dragon god emperor. I'll become the red dragon god of undying flames. Looks up at the moon with determination. Just thinking about becoming the strongest has gotten me smirks. It's gotten me all fired up now. This shocked Ddraig and Natsu not on what he just said, but also the way he said it. Ddraig shocked Natsu. Did you? Natsu shocked. No, did you? Greg eyes narrowed. No, I didn't. Natsu curious. What are you thinking, big bro? Greg thinking nothing. It was probably just a coincidence. An ATS, you mind serious? You can't fool me, big bro. I know you and I are thinking the same thing, size. But I guess we don't have real proof, so we can't explain for sure. Serious, though, it would explain how Issei's affinity for fire magic is greater than both of us combined, as well as him learning your flames at an extremely fast rate. Scene change. Nihao Island, Forest Region. It's been a few hours since Issei had returned with Urza in hand when he met up. Ingvild did as he predicted and began crying while complaining to him on how worried she was when he was gone for so long. Ddraig as well. Natsu and Nero teased Issei for having a concerned housewife, and will most likely have to hurry up and put a ring on it to calm her down, which annoyed Issei to no end. When Ingvild asked about Urza, he told her what he came across while on the island and how Urza was tortured for some unknown reason. Afterwards, they decided it was best to camp further up in the forest and asked Ingvild if she could heal and treat Urza's wounds, to which she happily agreed. Issei used his magic to create Urza some pants for her to wear so that she wouldn't feel naked when she woke up. When Issei returned from hunting some boar as well as fishing some tropical delicacies, he came back to Urza already awakened and with her breasts being bandaged up, thanks to Ingvild. Issei smiles nervously. Sorry if you don't like the pants I made, but I thought it should be enough while you recovered. Urza, serious, I see. Thank you. Issei smiles. No problem. Curious, so can you tell me why you were chained up like that back there? I don't want to sound like I'm prying, but... Urza, serious? Do you know of the Holy Sword Project? They say confused. No, I don't actually. It was then Urza explained how a few years ago tried to artificially produce Holy Sword users, more specifically how to wield the legendary Holy Sword Excalibur. They would take orphans from that belonged to the church and see if they had any aptitude for holy swords. Urza was among the oldest of the kids there, and as such the other kids looked up to her for comfort, especially a boy named Isaiah, who he saw as the big sister that he never had, and she felt the same. When Issei asked Urza what Isaiah looked like, she told him that he was a blond boy with blue eyes with a mole under his left eye, which made Issei think of Kiba since he fit that description, but scrapped that thought since it didn't make any sense to him. After that, Urza explained. When the scientists found out that Urza didn't have any aptitude for holy swords, she was removed from the rest of the group and moved to a different facility, since they did find out that she was greatly in tune with demonic swords as well as other forms of magical swords. Though the facility was taken over by rogue fallen angels, and that was when her torture began, they would stick those rods inside of her to absorb her affinity for themselves. But to no avail. They tried to break both physically and mentally, but she wouldn't give them the satisfaction of her giving up and falling into despair, which impressed the Issei greatly. But she guessed the rumors about her extremely high affinity for demonic swords reached the ears of the devils that Issei just killed, in which they staged an attack on the facility and kidnapped her to bring her to the island where DSD was held. They thought with her they could make DSD submit to them and they could have the power of Sparta for themselves. But even with her affinity for demonic swords, DSD would not respond to her no matter what she did, which made her days even more painful, which was why she was surprised that Issei was able to remove the blade so easily. Issei told her that when he saw the sword, he felt a pull coming from it, and that it was like it was calling to him, which confused Urza a bit, but decided to shrug it off. But when Issei and Ingvild heard her story, they were deeply saddened by what she had been through and would help her in any way they could. Issei saddened Urza. "I'm sorry you've gone through so much." Ingvild saddened. "I can't even imagine whatever trauma you must be going through." Urza smiles softly. "Thank you. So what is your story, Red Dragon Emperor?" Issei smiles. "Please call me." Issei looks at the fire with a sad expression. "Besides, there's nothing really special about my story." Urza curious why? Issei says, "It's just that sad and I'm not entirely proud of who I was before. Trust me when I say this, that I was a completely different person before you two met me." Engulf concern. "But Issei-san, you know our stories, don't you think it's right that we know yours too?" Issei sighs. "I guess you're right. Before all this, before I was a devil or I found out I was the Red Dragon Emperor, I was Issei Hyoudou, a member of Quaz Academy's perverted trio, and my only goal in life was to become the harem king. Every day, I would peek at girls changing and dream about my future harem and think about girls with big breasts. Then one day, a girl named Uma Amano came out of nowhere and asked me to be her boyfriend. Being the perverted idiot I was, I accepted, not seeing the signs at the time." Smiles fondly. "That same Saturday we went on our first date, and I did everything I could to make sure it went perfectly and even control the perverted beast inside of me. Grim. But then we made our way to the park, and that's when she revealed her true nature, in which she asked me if I would die for her. When I didn't understand what she was asking, she transformed into her true form, which was a fallen angel, and stabbed with her light, killing me. As I laid there dying in a pool of my own blood, she told me that it was all an act, and that the reason why she killed me was because of my sacred gear, and I was considered a threat. That was when I was resurrected by Rias Gremry to be her pawn, but due to what happened between me and Rainer, I developed a trauma to when it came to confessing my love to girls in fear they would reject me and be like her. So I kept on being the perverted idiot that I was, hoping to numb the pain and fear I had deep inside. It was then I met first real friend Asia Argento, who I later found out was an excommunicated nun from the church because she accidentally healed a devil. Looks to Ingvild while smiling. "She actually reminded me of you, Ingvild, so sweet and innocent that you wouldn't even want to hurt a fly." Ingvild blushes. "After meeting her again, I found out that they planned to take away her sacred gear, which ended up killing her. So despite my master's protest, I stormed to the abandoned church where I knew they would be, and thanks to my peerage members, we were able to subdue the rogue exorcists." Saddened, but I was too late. By the time we reached the altar room, Rainer had practically finished extracting Asia's sacred gear. Horrified while looking at his hands, I remember how cold her body as she told me that despite knowing I was a devil, she didn't regret meeting me before passing away. It was then that I even begged God to bring her back because she didn't deserve die like this, since all she ever wanted was to live happily and make so many lifelong friends. Eyes narrowed. It was then Rainer came again and mocked me for being too weak to save, and fucked up part was that she was right. I was supposed to be the Red Dragon Emperor, one of the two heavenly dragons who has the power to slay gods and satans alike. But since I was just a normal human with no normal family traits or bloodlines, I didn't even unlock the boosted gear until after she died. After Rias killed Rainer, she was kind enough to resurrect Asia at my request. Smiles. Things went pretty well for a little while now that Asia was back, serious. That was until Riser Phoenix arrived, who I found out was engaged to my master Ria's Gremry. Rias hated Riser, and for good reason, since he only saw her as a trophy wife to add to his harem. It was then Rias challenged Riser to a raiding game so that she could earn back her freedom. For 10 days me and my peerage members trained for the night of the big fight. Sad, and it was essentially a slaughterhouse. We stood no chance against Riser and his peerage, as I watched one by one, as peerage members were taken down until me and Rias remained. I gave it my all and tried to take down Riza, but he was simply too powerful for me. As I was constantly getting beaten down by Riza, I kept on getting back up with defiance in my eyes. Riza was going to kill me since deaths in the raiding games are considered accidents anyway. That was until Riaz forfeited to save me. Clenching his fists in anger again, I was too weak to save and protect the people I care about. When I found out that Riaz was about to get married, I gave up my arm to the Red Dragon Emperor in order to have the power to save her. That was when I crashed the engagement party and challenged Riza for Ria's freedom. Solemn, I won with the help of holy objects to help negate his regenerative abilities. But it wasn't until the next day I realized that I only won that fight out of pure luck. Because if Riza wasn't so cocky, I would have easily lost even with the holy items and the power that Red Dragon gave me. Once I realized I left in order to train to become stronger as well as stop being a pervert. When my training was finished for now, one of my predecessors told me to look for 3 blades to help me with my style of swordsmanship, which in turn led me to you two. When Issei finally finished his story, both of them were saddened by what Issei had to go through in order to get stronger, but they were inwardly glad that they still met him despite his perverted past, since who knew what their lives would be like if he didn't show up? Is he serious in any case, Urza? Urza curious, yes? Is he serious? Do you have any plans on what you want to do now that you're free? Urza shrugs her shoulders. No, not really. I didn't have any aspirations or goals when I was in the project or even right now. For the moment, I'm just glad I'm free. Issei thinking, I see serious in that case. If you like, you can stick with me and Ingvild for the time being. Concerned though, knowing my luck as well as being the Red Dragon Emperor, there will be a lot of fighting. There's a curious, I see Issei. What is your dream? Issei. Confused, Ingvild blushes nervously. Do you still plan on having a harem? Issei says, to be honest, I don't know about that anymore. I mean, a part of me wouldn't mind having a harem since due to my draconic aura and power, I'll most likely end up having one either way, so might as well make it so that I'm somewhat in control so that there's no fighting. But me having a harem is more of a side goal at this point. Serious, no. My real goal is to become the strongest so that I can protect the people I care about. Hopefully, one day they will not have to wake up every morning because they need to go into battle because of some threat on the horizon. Urza nods. I see just one question: what's a harem? At that response, AC comedically fell face first at that reaction. But at the same time, he couldn't blame Mirza since the poor girl was being held captive for so many years, so of course, she didn't have a proper form of education. Now the question was on how to explain the concept of a harem to a girl who was mostly old enough to be a 3rd year in high school, but most likely had the mental knowledge of a great schooler. Issei nervous. Let's see how to explain this. It's when one guy has a bunch of girls that he likes and all the girls share the guy. The harem does stuff together like living together, enjoying each other's company, and blushes nervously sleep together. Urza nods. I see. Curious. Oh, it's like having multiple wives. Essie blushes nervously. Yeah, pretty much. Urza. Syria. Sounds interesting. Can I join? I know I probably look like a mess, but I'm confident I would be a good addition. Issei's mind, Issei couldn't believe his ears. Did Urza just bluntly ask to join his harem? Even Ddraig, who was listening, was completely gobsmacked on what just happened. He started to feel even more petty jealousy for his host's luck since he was getting gorgeous women to fall for him left and right. Ingvild also became completely red at Urza's boldness of asking Ys to become a part of Ys's harem, though for some reason, just like the sin like the original Leviathan, she felt a tinge of jealousy and envy that Urza was trying to get close to Ys. Issei smiles nervously. Urza, are you sure you want to join my harem? I mean, we just met, and I feel you don't entirely understand what being a harem girl entails. Urza, curious, why don't you want me in your harem? Unknowingly plays with her breasts. Are my breasts not big enough for you? Issei turns his head away while blushing and having a bit of nosebleed. No, it's not that. Trust me, your breasts are fine, perfect to be exact. It's just that we just met, and we hardly know each other, and it would probably be best to take it slow. Urza. Serious. I see. So I need to prove myself to be a member of your harem. Determined in that case, I will do my very best to make sure I am harem member worthy of your stature. Mind sweat drops. Why do I feel she didn't really get what I was trying to tell her? Issei sighs. In any case, we should get some rest since I have one more sword I need to collect before heading back home to Kwa. It was then Issei set up the sleeping mats around the fire, and as Issei went to sleep on top of his mat, he noticed that Ingvild was sliding in next to him. Issei confused Ingvild. Ingvild nervous. Well, I notice I sleep better when I'm hugging something, and sleeping next to you is very nice. Issei confused. Even after I told you I used to be a pervert, you still want to sleep next to me? Ingvild smiles. Why, of course, like you said, that was who you were before, and you didn't do anything to me last night, so I trust you. Issei surprised Ingvild. Urza confused. What are you two doing? Ingvild smiles. Oh, I sleep better when I'm next to Issei-san, since it's like hugging a firm body pillow or a stuffed animal. Urza curious. Oh, now that sounds interesting. I want to try that out. It was then Urza made his way over to Issei's mat and snuggled up next to him while hugging his body. This caused Issei to become a bit flustered as Urza was unknowingly pressing her large breasts to Issei's body. This caused Ingvild to pout with jealousy and began to hug Issei tighter. Urza smiles. Wow, Ingvild was right, this does feel nice. If this is one of the perks of being in your harem, then I'm all up for it. Ddraig whimpers, lucky bastard. Issei, mind sweat drops. Was my training to not be a pervert anymore a complete waste of time then? But that argument filling his head, Issei, Ingvild, and Urza fell asleep, waiting for when it was time to collect the final sword that Issei needed to truly start his path to become the strongest. Not knowing that acquiring this sword will no doubt shake the foundation of who he is as a person, and will no doubt test his motivation to become the strongest, as well as not knowing that another person would be trying to acquire the sword as well. Chapter 4. The Price for Power. Niha, Hawaii. 2 days later, 3rd PAV. It's been 2 days since Issei acquired the Devil's Sword Dante as well rescuers, or what Drake called it, harem recruiting, since his host was starting getting women to fall in love with him left and right, which irked the legendary dragon to no end since he had to actually put in work to get with the girls he laid with. Then Issei comes along, and he's snatching girls without even noticing. The legendary dragon wouldn't be surprised if married women will start lusting and going after his host. Anyway, since then, Issei has noticed something going on with the DSD, in which it seemed to always appear in his hand without him summoning it. Every time Issei would try to put the DSD inside his pocket, it would appear in his hand out of nowhere soon after. Issei felt like the DSD wanted to constantly be at his side and that it didn't like being shoved into the pocket, like putting away an old piece of equipment in the closet. It wasn't then Issei's right arm started to change. It became that of a demon compared to the dragon arm on his left arm. When he asked Nero what was going on, he told that it must be an effect of him pouring his own demonic energy into him, as well as him unknowingly absorbing the demonic energy from the DSD. Nero told Issei that what he had now was called the Devil Bringer, which was the physical manifestation of his demonic power, explained to Issei that he also had one after waking Ddraig, and that was how he found out he was the descendant of Sparta, as well as some of the abilities that it had along with storing the demonic swords of Sparta like DSD. Though Issei started hearing a distant voice since his arm changed sometimes from time to time over and over, saying, "Power, I need more power." Just as Nero told him, the DSD seemingly went inside the Devil Bringer, in which Issei tested it, and saw that it stayed inside this time, and that he was able to summon it with ease. Both Urs and Ingvild were both shocked and in awe on how the Devil Bringer looked like and the power that was oozing out of it. Issei asked Nero if there was a way to properly conceal it, since he obviously couldn't go around in public with his arm looking like this, and with the power that it was radiating would attract unwanted attention. Nero told him that it was similar on how he was able to control his draconic energy, and that he just need to control the demonic energy on his arm in order for him to turn it back to a human. Issei did just that, and after a few tries he was able to get his arm turned back to a human. During the rest of the day, Issei, Ingvald, and Urza would explore the island of Hawaii. Since they were in Hawaii, they might as well enjoy the tropical scenery. Issei made Urza some clothes in order to help her blend in with the crowd. Urza, on seeing how well Issei was to make clothing from magic, was certainly impressive. During that day, they hit up all the major attractions as well as the gorgeous beaches that Hawaii had to offer, as well as taking pictures of themselves to commemorate the memories they made. But it did not help that a bunch of guys would try to hit on Ingvald and Urza, in which again Issei would send them all at death glares to tell them to back off. Later on, Issei would practice how to use DSD as well as learn how to control the ability that he gained from the Jiren. Once Issei got the hand of being able to control time to a degree, Nero told him that what he called Quicksilver style, which is a technique which grants the power to slow down time at the cost of demonic energy. Nero explained that Dante had this ability when killed another Jiren decades ago, and that if continues to train on it, then he could be as good and powerful as the Agar's family, who are famous to have the ability to control time. Issei also tried practicing on how to use his Devil Bringer, which was fairly tricky since being able to summon a giant spectral demonic hand out of nowhere, as well as learning how to control it was surely challenged since it felt operating an extra limb. Right now, Issei was currently lying at deck chair reading some of the books that he grabbed back in Nero's armory in New York. It was book on advanced fire and lighting, which Issei found was extremely useful since it could help him learn other types of spells besides dragon or demon slayer magic. Issei also read some books about certain fighting styles which found extremely useful since even though his hand-to-hand combat skills were great, it wouldn't hurt to learn a discipline or two in order to help when he faces a skilled fighter. Though two styles caught his interest, which were Royal Guard and Jutsu. There was also the concept of Senjutsu, which had a lot of properties that Issei could definitely use in and out of combat. This made Issei wonder if he could find someone that could teach how to use such an art. As for Royal Guard, it felt he can probably learn on his own, though with trial and error, since it involved using your demonic energy to perfectly counter-absorb attacks and releasing back at your opponent. Though from what he could read from it was the most difficult to master, but Issei was determined to master it since besides from his basic stats, he had no real way to defend himself from attacks. This also made Issei think about getting other books about the different mythologies in the supernatural world, especially the one he is currently aligned with, since if he's going to be a high-class devil, he should be knowledgeable of the supernatural as well. As he was reading the book, his thoughts were interrupted when Urza called to him. Urza smiles. "What are you reading, master?" AC sighs Urza. "How many times do I have to tell you? Don't need to call me master or your king since, 1. I'm no one's master, and 2. If you keep on calling me that out in public, people will get the wrong idea." Ever since Issei told Urza and Ingvald that one of his ambitions was to become a high-class devil so he could openly be with Rias, which caused Ingvald for some reason pout with jealousy. And when Issei explained the concept of evil pieces, Urza would want to join his peerage when the time came for when he received his pieces. Issei told her that if she wanted, then she could join Ria's peerage since her aptitude for almost any type of sword would be a huge asset, in which she bluntly refused, and that the only peerage that she would join would be his and his alone, since she saw Issei as the only person worthy enough to be her master. Since then, she always referred to Issei as master or her king despite Issei's protest and telling her that it would cause too much misconception. Ingvald even asked Issei if she could join his peerage, which shocked him immensely since even though she was a hybrid, she was a descendant of Leviathan, and even in the current government, she would be considered royalty, and making her a servant would raise a lot of questions and an uproar. Issei told her that she would end up having her own evil pieces right away since she was a descendant of Leviathan, but Ingvald said that she wasn't interested in building a peerage or having servants, and that she wanted to be with him since she felt safe when around him. Urza smiles. "But it's only natural for the person who's going to be my future master and king to be called as such when I'm their presence. Or should you call husband? Issei's sweat drops. Not that either, Ursa-san sighs. But if you must know, I'm currently reading a book of spells that will help me utilize my fire and lighting magic, since I can't simply just rely on dragon or demon slayer magic. Ursa curious, oh, do you think I can learn some of these spells? Issei smiles, sadly no, since both me and Ddraig checked for your affinity for magic, and it seems you don't possess any form of affinity for elemental magic. Ursa sad and oh, Issei smiles, but that doesn't mean you can't learn some of the basic spells like teleportation or universal language spells. Plus, I only said you didn't have an affinity for elemental magic, but we did find something else. Ursa hopeful with stars in her eyes. Really? What did you find? Issei chuckles. My, aren't you excited? Smiles. Me and Ddraig can't say for sure, but it's a unique form of spatial magic, but we don't know which kind. Maybe when we finally return to Kwa, I'll ask Riaz to help look into it for you. Ursa smiles with excitement. Really? Oh, thank you, master. It was then Ursa jumped onto Issei, practically giving him a death hug. Issei's face became completely red since Ursa's breasts were literally on his face. Greg slowly grumbled with jealousy that his host was getting to feel such amazing breasts. Issei just did his best to break free, but Ursa was surprisingly super strong for a human, and his inner pervert was trying to make him not resist and enjoy the moment. It was then their precious bonding moment was interrupted when Ingvild came back with coconut drinks, and when she saw both that close, not only did she feel a tinge of jealousy for Ursa for trying to get super close to Issei, but she believed Issei was enjoying it. Ingvild blushes nervously. Issei-san? Issei finally breaks free and breathes, ah, thanks Satan. I thought I was gonna die from suffocation. Looks to Ingvild flustered Ingvild, this is not what it looks like. Ingvild blushes nervously. I say, son, are you going through mating season? There's a curious mating season. I say, flustered, it's when an animal of a race goes into heat during a certain time and blushes nervously, mates with the opposite in order to produce offspring. There's a surprised, oh well then, master, if you're going through something like that, then you should have told me. Smiles with pride as your servant. It is my duty to help satisfy your every need. Even though it would be my first time, I will gladly offer it up to you. At that statement, both and Ingvald's faces became 50 shades of red on how straightforward Ursa was being. Issei mind shocked what the fuck it is going through this girl's mind. Ddraig cries comedically, why it's not fair. You instantly have the green light to bang this bombshell of a woman that I would kill an entire village to be with God-mannered. Someone break me out of this sacred gear before this pretty boy takes away all the girls. Natsu sweat drops. I'm actually starting that Issei is right, and that you actually did die a virgin. Big bro Ddraig cries comedically, no. Now he has my little brother turning against me. Damn you, Issei. I do. Ursa smiles. Now then, master, shall we make you father? Issei flustered, but Ursa, I'm Ingvild flustered, no. Ursa, I say, surprised. It was then Ingvild rushed towards his aid while pushing off Ursa from him. It was then she jumped on top of his aid. Ingvild blushes if anyone is going to help his aid have children, it will be me. And your own mind's sweat drops. This girl kind of reminds me of Kataria. I guess all the descendants of the Leviathan family are like that. There's a smirk. So you also want to be in my master Issei's harem as well? Ingvild blushes nervously while pressing her finger together. Well, I just don't want to say Santa forget about me. So if sleeping with him and helping bear his children will make sure he doesn't forget about me, then I'll ISSE. I mind deadpan. Why the fuck do I feel like I've seen this scenario before? Issei sighs in annoyance. I'm not in heat, so Ingvild, you can get off me. Ingvild said and okay. They say, sighs, I swear concern Ingvild. Ingvild nervous, yes. They say, concern, you shouldn't just give up your maidenhood from fear of being forgotten. I know we're devils and that we don't follow proper morals, but that isn't you. Your first time should be special, and it should be with someone you would want to be with for the rest of your life. Smiles warmly. No matter what happens, I will never forget you and will always be by your side. Being bold, hopeful, really? Issei smiles warmly. Of course, you are someone who has become someone that I must protect and care for with every fiber of my being. The same goes for you, Orza. Even if I did accept being your master or king, you shouldn't also throw away maidenhood like that, because I would never make you do such a thing to you or anyone, my peerage. Ingvild smiles. Thank you, Issei-san. There's a smirk. Someone who deeply cares for his servants as well as their mental well-being. No doubt I have found a person that I am proud to call my king. Mine sweat drops again. I feel that she doesn't get what I'm trying to tell her. Nero. Serious. Well, kid, it's time. Mine surprised Nero. Serious. So, I'm guessing you found the last sword. Nero. Serious. I actually knew where this sword was for a while, but I thought you needed time to rest after that fight with the Girian as well as Cavalli or Angelo on top, learning how to use DSD and your new abilities. Issei, I'm in serious. I see. I guess that makes sense since I can't bum rushing battle after battle. Nero. Serious. My thoughts exactly. Issei, I'm in serious. Oh, where to? Nero. Serious. We're going back to Japan. Kyoto to be exact. Issei, I'm surprised. Wait. If the last sword was in Japan this entire time, why didn't we go there first? Nero. Serious. Because not only is this sword the most stubborn out of all of them, but there's a high chance that you might die when you get this sword. Issei, I'm surprised as the guardian that strong. Nero. Serious. I wish it was just that. It's the sword itself. If this sword doesn't find you worthy, then it will kill you with a 1,000,000 cuts. Issei was surprised by this new information, but he now also understood why Nero kept this information, since if he knew a powerful sword was residing in his home country, then he would no doubt dive in head first without the consideration that he will no doubt be killed. Nero's serious look. Issei, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it will probably be best not to go after this sword and head home. You've already got the Red Queen and DSD, which are pretty powerful swords themselves. If you go after this sword, then no doubt you'll most likely die. And you want to live in order to be with that master of yours. Right, Issei, I mind serious. Yes. I do. I want no better to go home back to Rias and try to convey my feelings for her determined, but I won't run away. Nero surprised. Issei, I mind serious. I trained these past 3 months in order to become the strongest, and if I just run away just because something seems too difficult, then all of my training will be for nothing. If this sword has the power to help me become stronger so I can protect my loved ones, then I'll climb out of the depths of Hades itself over and over again till the sword accepts me as its master. That's how motivated I am in order to become the strongest. Nero was surprised by the sheer determination in Issei's voice, and that he would claim this sword no matter what, and would even climb out of hell itself over and over again in order to prove himself worthy of it. Nero couldn't help but smirk at his student's resolve to do this, and even he did refuse. No doubt Issei would just go anyway, since that was the type of person Issei was. Nero smirks. Alright, kid, you win, but don't come crying to me when it's a little bit out of your hands. Grins like I'm gonna give you the satisfaction of me giving up that lightly. Issei smirks. Alright, girls. It's time to head out. Ingvild, curious. Where are we going? Urza smiles. No matter where we go, I'll follow you anywhere, master. Issei smiles. We're going back to my home country of Japan and stopping in Kyoto. Ingvild, excited. So I'll get to experience your culture. So exciting. Urza smiles. Indeed. Maybe while there I can learn how to be a proper harem woman. Issei, I mind sweat drops sometimes. I wonder what's going on in your head, Urza. Issei smiles. Well, in any case, shall we winks? Snap. With a snap of his fingers, Issei and Ingvild returned to the clothes they wore back when they were in New York. Well, for Urza, Issei gave a black turtleneck with a tan skirt. She wore black leggings and black dress shoes. Issei smirks with pride. I think I might have outdid myself again. Curious. Oh, Ursa, what do you think? Ursa amazed. This is an amazing master. I was surprised when you said you made pants while I was recovering in my swimsuit with magic, but to see it with my own eyes is another story. Curious, do you think you can make armor with your magic? Essie thinking, not sure. But Ddraig has told me that it is possible for me if I were to practice. Smiles. Now then, shall we take our leave? But that both of the girls nodded, and Issei opened a magic circle in which they all stepped into and disappeared without a trace. Scene change, Japan, Kyoto, 3:39 p.m. Kyoto, Japan. Some people say that it is the spiritual or cultural capital of Japan, mostly due to the rich history surrounding the great city. So many battles and myths that correlated with Japan's history mostly surrounded here in Kyoto. Right now, Kyoto is considered a major tourist attraction, even more so than Tokyo. It is the home to many wealthy and noble families of Japan. But it is also the home of Shinto pantheon, who are the gods that govern Japan. Some of the notably of gods are the Shinto trio, who are Amaterasu, who is the Shinto goddess of the sun, Susanoo, who is the Shinto god of storms, and Tsukuyomi, who the Shinto god of the moon. But besides the Shinto gods, Kyoto is also home to the Yokai, who are a group of various species of supernatural beings native to Asia, Japan, and China, who currently walk alongside humans in disguise for the most part. Currently, the city is bustling people, whether they are locals or tourists. The city of Kyoto almost seems to never rest. Within the alleys of the great city of Kyoto, a red magic circle appeared, and out came three people. One was a scarlet-haired beauty with looks and a body that most men would kill to be with. The second was another woman with purple hair, and a head and aura of innocence, but also had a body that most men could only dream of being with. The last person was young, handsome, brown-haired boy with looks that would make essentially any woman would even cheat with their husband's spouses to spend the night with him. These people were no other than Ingvild, Erza, and Issei, who had just arrived in Kyoto. And to Issei's surprise, he didn't feel nauseous or dizzy, which could only mean one thing, and that was he finally gotten over his weakness of being in a moving object or teleportation. Issei mind surprised. Holy shit, could it be? Guys, I didn't feel sick or dizzy while teleporting. Does this mean I finally kicked the drawback of being a dragon slayer? Natsu smirks. It seems so. Good job, kid. Greg smirks. Yes, you are growing quite well, partner. Issei mind smiles. Excitement. Finally, maybe I can finally take Cavalier out for a spin. Nero smirks. Easy there, kid. Let's get this last sword first, then you can try going for a joy ride. Okay. Curious. Wait. Do you even know how to drive a motorcycle? Issei mind shrugs. Can't be that different from riding a bike, right? Nero chuckles. Sure it is, kid. Ingvild curious. Oh, Issei-san, is this really your home country? It looks nice. Erza smiles. I agree, and I even can sense the nobility in the atmosphere. No doubt this is a place where someone as noble as you came from, master. The sage chuckles. Thank you too, but actually my hometown is actually a few hours away from where we are right now. Smiles. But I am glad that we're back in my home country, since now we can actually hopefully stay in an actual hotel and pay for a nice meal. Upon hearing that, both Ingvild and Erza couldn't smile in absolute joy in the fact that we're going to be sleeping in an actual bed and have a proper meal, since for the past few days they had to camp where they sleep, eat whatever Issei could hunt, and could bath in rivers or lakes that they could find. Realizing that they could actually get a hotel, Issei opened up his phone to check his bank account, only to be shocked that his parents sent him a bit of extra cash a while ago. This made Issei wonder why would his parents send him extra money, and from what he was looking at, it looked like to be enough money to spend a few nights at a very nice hotel and have very good meals. If Issei remembered correctly, his father was just a simple salary man at a technology company, and his mother was a simple housewife who only had a small part-time job. There was no way that his parents had this kind of money lying around unless they were maybe secretly saving some on the side. But this also brought up another question on his mind, and that was what to do with Ingvild and Erza when he returns home. No doubt Ingvild would be staying in the underworld under the protection of the Mayo once he reports back to Rias and gets into contact with the current Devil Kings. But knowing how clingy Ingvild is to him now, there's also a chance that she will have to stay with Issei. But then there's Erza, who has nowhere else to go. Issei was at least somewhat hopeful that Rias can help him out with setting Erza a place to stay. But also knowing his loving master, she would just stick Erza in Issei's house since she was technically his responsibility. But the problem would be that his house is already packed enough as it is ever since Asia and Rias moved in, and he can't keep lying to his parents, or have Rias mess with their minds to convince them to let them stay. Issei decided that he wasn't going to do that anymore, and that when he returns home, he was going to tell his parents about the supernatural, since if he's going to be protecting his family from the threats that will come knocking at his door, he should at least tell his parents of what's to come, even if it meant it with no doubt change of how they see the world. Isse, I'm curious how the hell were Mom and Dad able to send me this much money? Ingvild curious, Essie, are you alright? Urza curious, is something troubling you, Master? Issei shakes his head, smiles. No, nothing is wrong. I actually have enough money so that we can spend the night at a fairly nice hotel. Invil. 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 Invil, stick to me and Ingvald, try to hide your demonic energy presence. We are in Shinto territory, and we don't want to draw any unnecessary attention to ourselves. Ingvald nods cutely right. Essie, I mind blushes, so cute. Essie, serious and Urza, no calling me master or king when we're in public since, like I said, it causes unwanted attention and misunderstanding. So just call me or Ice, okay? Urza smiles. As you wish, Master Ice. Sweat drops bar to help me. Says sighs. In any case, let's get going. It was then Issei, Ingvild, and Urza started walking through the streets of Kyoto. Both Ingvild and Urza were amazed by buildings and sight. Even Issei was amazed by it, since his family really never visited Kyoto, or anything outside of Kyoto in matter of fact. This also made Issei wonder if this was considered going on his school trip early. He mentally thanked himself for casting the spell on Urza so that she could read and understand every language. As they were walking around as well as finding a hotel for them to stay at, Issei accidentally bumped into someone that he was not expecting. Thanks to Issei's scent as well as looking closely at the person that he bumped into, he could tell it was a girl. She was a young woman with chin-length blue hair with a dyed green fringe on the right side and brown eyes. She was wearing a black, skin-tight, short-sleeve leotard with pauldrons, matching fingerless gloves that extend to her biceps and thigh-high boots, all of which are adorned with straps. This attire is worn under a white-headed cloak with gold and blue accents, but the thing that caught Issei's attention was the cross she had around her neck, as well as the amount of holy energy radiating from the axe-like object she had covered and strapped to her back, which meant she was a member of the church. This also frightened Ingvild, but she was able to maintain her composure, as well as make sure her demonic energy didn't spike. Issei also maintained his composure, as well as made sure his demonic energy didn't react violently. But he needed to resolve this quickly before this girl figures out that they're devils, and he starts a war with the church. Surprised, Issei smiles weakly. Sorry about that, I didn't mean to bump into like that. I hope you can forgive me for my lack of awareness. Serious. Oh, it's okay. As long as you apologize, then I'm sure the Lord may forgive you as well. Issei smiles warmly. Thank you for your kindness. Curious. Oh, you're with the church. I'm surprised a sister such as yourself is doing in the place where everyone mostly worships the Shinto gods. Serious? Well, me and another sister are here on a mission from the church, sighs. But sadly my fellow sister is a bit energetic and can get easily distracted, and we got separated. I'm currently trying to find her so that we can return to our mission. Issei, mind sweat drops. Why does that remind me of Rin-chan? Essie smiles weakly. Well, I hope you and your partner can get back to your mission as soon as possible. Nods while smiling. Thank you for your kind words, Mr. Issei chuckles. Please, no need for the Mr. My name is Issei, and you are? Zenobia smiles. Zenobia Corda, and again. Thank you for your words of motivation, Issei. I do. Maybe the Lord made it so that we would cross paths. I hope we cross paths again soon. Issei mind sighs, doubtful. Or if so, you'll be trying to kill me? Greg, sarcastically annoyed. I don't know. Maybe you'll end up sleeping with her, and then boom, peace between the church and the devils at last. Issei mind sweat drops. You seriously need stop letting this get to you, Ddraig. For fuck's sake, you're literally over 1,000 years older than me, man. Fucking act like it. Dragonoid never. Issei mind sighs. What am I gonna do with you, man? Smiles warmly. Maybe we will, but I think we should part ways for the time being since me and my friends need to be somewhere, and I have an errand that I must take care of. Smiles and waves. See you around Zenobia Quarter. Zenobia smiles and waves, and a good day to you as well. And let the Lord bless us on both of our journeys. That last statement caused both and Ingvald to have a slight headache since Zenobia was unknowingly blessing them, which can be harmful to most devils. But since was half dragon and Ingvald was half human, the effect wasn't as bad. Once they were far away enough, both Issei and Ingvald couldn't help but sigh in relief at how close that was. Issei sigh in relief, man, that was a close one. Ingvald sigh in relief, I thought I was about to die back there. Issei smiles, you also did good back there, Urza. Maintaining your cool and staying quiet for the most part. Ursa serious, I just didn't know what was going on. So I just stood there and waited until I was asked something, or we started fighting. Issei mind sweat drops better than nothing, I suppose. It was then Issei and his group went on their way to head to a hotel so they could rest for a while before Issei left to find his final sword, Aquid Zenobia. Zenobia smiles, Issei. I wonder if that's the same Issei Arena grew up with and developed a crush on. If so, he's quite handsome for a boy our age. The power that he and his friends were giving off was amazing. Maybe when we're done with our business in Kwa, we can try finding him again and ask him and his friends to join the church. Serious. But before we could think about doing any of that, I need to hurry up and find Irina before we miss our train to Kwa. Scene change, Kyoto, random hotel, 1 hour later. It's been an hour since Issei and his group met Zenobia in the streets, and since then, Issei was able to find a hotel that he and his group can stay during their stay, thanks to the extra money his parents sent him. Currently, they are relaxing in the room that Issei got for them. Ingvald and Urza were taking a bath together while Issei was talking about the details of this last sword and how they should go about it. Issei serious? Okay. Nero, I'm not dumb since I've been seeing a pattern with these you've told me to get, and let me guess this last sword belonged to Sparta as well. Nero's sighs figured it out. How serious? Yeah. This last sword does belong to Sparta. The sword is called Yamato, and it belonged to Dante's older twin brother, Virgil, and my father. Asahi shocked, wait, we're going after your father's sword. Nero annoyed you. Yamato is questionably the most powerful sword out of the swords that my grandfather had next to the actual devil's sword, Sparta, and it was the rival of Dante's sword Rebellion. But what makes the sword so powerful is its ability to essentially slice through anything, even space itself. But that sword Virgil was able to slice through space and open portals to anywhere he desired, as well as being able to use the blade to cause distortions in space, engulf an enemy in which they are sliced multiplied times in such rapid succession that the enemy half the time didn't even realize they were caught in it. The same concern, Nero, are you alright? Because it feels like getting this sword is bothering you in more ways than one. Brave sighs, it's a complicated matter, partner. Nero annoyed, nothing complicated about it. My own father didn't even know I existed until at least a decade before I died. He literally had my mother as a one-night stand, not even caring that he might have a child because all he cared about was gaining power. Shortly after I was born, she died after giving birth to me, since not only bringing forth a descendant of Sparta as well as the red dragon was too much for her body, which left all alone with no clue who my deadbeat father was. When he finally finds out that I exist, he bluntly ignores that fact and continues to focus on gaining more power and beating Dante. Brave sighs Nero, and I've told you that's not what I sensed from him when he found out who you were. Nero annoyed you that he had a small feeling of regret and shame for abandoning me. Well, it doesn't change the fact for what he did. Issei hearing this felt so saddened for his senpai for the fact he was essentially alone for the majority of his time on Earth. He guessed that if it wasn't for Kiri, then Nero here wouldn't be any different from the rest of the boosted gear wielders who only used Draig's power for their own gains. But there was one question that was bothering Issei and decided to ask. Issei curious Nero, If getting this sword bothers you this much, then why do you want me to get it? Nero's serious because I'm not that blinded by the anger I have towards my father that I'm not going to take it out of his sword. As much as I hate him, I can't deny the power of Yamato will no doubt be beneficial to you, especially if you were able to get DSD to work with you. Besides, it's better that you have it than somebody else, since if those people from the old Satan faction were after Dante's sword, there's no doubt that they might go after Yamato as well. To say serious, I see. So it's better that we head out now to grab the sword before the old Satan faction or anyone else gets wind where Yamato is located. Nero's serious exactly. To say serious, okay. Where to? Nero's serious. The sword is located deep inside an abandoned shrine near the out of Kyoto. I'll guide you there. Issei nods. Right, let's do this. Ingvild. Curious, do what? Issei surprised. It was then Issei turned around to see Ingvild and Urza coming out of the shower with their naked bodies covered with a towel. Issei started to become red as he could almost see their breasts. But he quickly shook away from those thoughts since he had more important things that needed his attention. Issei, serious? I'm going to the location of the last sword that I need. Hopefully, I should be back by tonight so you two can just stay here. Ingvild concerned, no. Essie's surprised. It was then Ingvild quickly ran to Essie's side and grabbed onto his arm, which caused Essie's face to turn red since her bare skin was pressing against his arm. Ingvild concerned, you said that this last place where the sword is the most dangerous. I won't let you go alone, so I'm coming with you. I say concern Ingvild, you can't come with me, especially since it's dangerous. Your life is a lot more important than mine, and as such, it is my job that you are safe. Taking you with me will be doing the opposite, so please stay here, Ingvild. Ingvild saddened, but I'm not some helpless little girl. I serious. Remember, I'm a descendant of the original Leviathan, and I know a lot of spells that can help either defend myself in battle as well as support. Plus with my sacred gear, I can help boost my power 10 times more. They say confused, what do you mean? Nervous. My sacred gear, Narakiri, has the power to control dragons along with boosting my power over water magic. This shocked to say, Ddraig and Natsu to a whole another level. To think there was a long eye in the sacred gear that the power to actually control dragons. Greg thought in his mind that the biblical god made this sacred gear specifically as a fail-safe to help control him and Albion in case either of their users went into the Juggernaut drive and wreaked havoc along with other possible dragon-type sacred gears. But that was only the basis of what this sacred gear can do. This made Ddraig believe that this sacred gear specifically could have the possible chance of even controlling the dragon gods themselves, which was probably no wonder why the descendant of Lucifer was after her. This made Ddraig sigh in relief that his host was able to get to her first. Since their enemies were to have this power, then no dragon would be safe. Issei was contemplating whether to actually let Ingvild go with him or not, but his thoughts were interrupted when Urza grabbed him by the other arm, which caused Issei's face to turn red again since she was in the same state as Ingvild. Issei completely red. Urza, what are you doing? Urza smiles. I'm coming as well since it's only right for a servant to come with their master to wherever they go. Issei concerned, yeah, but Urza, you don't even have a weapon to defend yourself with. Urza realized, I guess you're right in that regard. Issei, mind sweat drops. I swear sometimes I feel like I need to get a doctor to check what's inside that brain of hers so I can finally figure out what the fuck is going through it. Urza sighs, look, I understand you two want to come with me out of concern, but I'm telling you, I'll be fine. Okay? So please just you two stay here and wait until I come back. Urza Ingvild pouts while hugging his arms tighter. No, Issei. I mind sighs honestly for all that is demonic and draconic alike. Someone help me. Meanwhile, in the other side of Kyoto, within the streets of Kyoto, we see two people walking the streets. The first was a handsome young man with silver white hair and red eyes. He wore a gakurin, and on top of it, a priest's coat. The second was a short, dark-skinned young boy with gray-blue hair and purple eyes. He wears a gakurin with a long coat on top of it. They are currently looking at a map to a temple that was within the outskirts of Kyoto. Smirks, if we follow these directions to the temple that holds the Yamato should not be too far from here. Nods. Sighs in annoyance. Honestly, Leonardo, you could talk more, you know. Leonardo, serious. Annoyed, whatever, honestly. Why Chow Chow put you with me is beyond me. Honestly, I couldn't have Heracles or John come with me instead. At least then I wouldn't feel like I'm talking to a brick wall. Leonardo, serious, because Chow Chow said that this temple is extremely dangerous, and that it could be a good way for me to use my annihilation maker in actual combat situations. Siegfried-san. Siegfried, annoyed finally, he speaks honestly. I thought it would feel like I was doing this all on my own with you not talking. So, do you think we'll end up fighting some tough opponents? Leonardo, serious. Siegfried, annoyed, back to the silent treatment again. No matter. You're only here to help me get Yamato, since wielding Graham is considered too much for me. Damn those devils in the old Satan claiming DSD for themselves. Like any of those spoiled fucks, even know how to properly use a sword since they're always confident in their magical abilities. Smirks, no matter, since if the stories are true, then Yamato has a lot more uses than DSD does. And when the time is right, I'll just snatch DSD from their wielder and take it for myself. I'll be the strongest demonic sword wielder since Sparta himself. Ring ring. Siegfried, surprised. Inside Siegfried's pocket, his phone rang, which caught him by surprise. He was curious since he knew that it was someone from HQ that was calling, but what got Siegfried curious was that everyone at HQ knew that he was currently trying to obtain the legendary sword Yamato, and that it was even approved by Chow Chow himself. Either Siegfried answered his phone to see what was going on. Siegfried answers phone while being curious. Hello? Phone, serious. Siegfried. Siegfried, serious. Okay, or gets you, what is it? You know I'm close to getting Yamato right now. Ddrag. Phone, serious, I know, but here to let you know that someone who wasn't a part of the old Satan faction was able to obtain DSD. Siegfried, shocked. What? How is that possible? From what I read, the blades of Sparta are like the pure demonic versions of Excalibur. They are extremely picky on who they decide to wield them. You're telling me that someone was able to slip past the old Satan faction and grab DSD from under them? Gorg. Phone. Serious. This person didn't sneak past them, Siegfried. This person annihilated them and took the DSD with them. This shocked Siegfried since he knew that the old Satan faction would no doubt have a small platoon with them while trying to get the sword. But not only did this person destroy them, but also was able to get DSD to work with them, which meant there were two possibilities. The first being that this person was secretly a descendant of Sparta, but that wasn't possible since the last descendant of Sparta, known as Nero, died decades ago, and he didn't have any children. The second being that this person must have an even greater affinity for demonic swords than even him. Siegfried, serious. Why are you telling me this, George? Peorg. Phone, serious. I'm giving you a heads up since if this person was able to get DSD, then it's most likely that he or she will be going after Yamato as well. So expect some extra resistance while trying to get the blade. Siegfried, serious. Thanks for the heads up. Once Siegfried hung up the phone with George, he had a dark scowl on his face. He was furious that some random person was able to swoop in and take down a small platoon of the old Satan faction's forces, and was able to take the sword that he originally wanted to retrieve. Now that person was mostly on its way to retrieve Yamato. But at the same time, Siegfried couldn't help but smirk since it could be a golden opportunity to obtain both Yamato and DSD. Once the idea came to his mind, he told Leonardo that they needed to pick up the pace, but unaware to Siegfried that inside his robe, which held numerous demonic swords, and that two of them sensed that there was someone in this city who was an even better wielder than their current one. Scene change. Outskirts of Kyoto, Esapov. After Ingvald and Urza of trying to convince me to let them come with me, I sadly reluctantly agreed to let them come with me since me and Nero thought that we didn't have time to argue with them since if the old Satan found by now that they couldn't get DSD, then they would hurry up and try to retrieve Yamato. Since Urza didn't have a weapon, I let her borrow the Red Queen while I would use DSD while we went inside the shrine. I told Urza that her main priority would be to protecting Wild at all costs. As we got closer to the area that Nero told me where the shrine where the Yamato was being held, I sensed a barrier coming near, which I could tell was fairly strong, and I would probably have to use the boosted gear to boost my power in order to have enough strength to break it. Ingvild, curious. Issei-san, how much further are we to the shrine? Urza, curious. We've been walking for what seemed like hours. Asasirios, almost there. I can sense the barrier surrounding the temple should not be far now. Be ready, we don't know what kind of enemies or traps that were placed here in order to protect the sword. Urza. Ingvild nods right. After a few minutes of walking in this deep forest, we finally reached where the barrier was, and when I placed my hand on it, I could already tell that this barrier was above my current strength, signifying how tough it will be for me to grab the Yamato. Judging by how powerful this barrier is, I might have to use the boosted gear as well as undo my seals in order to do so. Issei mind serious. Well, guys, what do you think? Nero serious. You just might have to go all out alone to take down this barrier. Natsu serious. I gotta say this barrier is pretty impressive, but I guess I expect nothing else from a descendant of Sparta. Bdraig mind thinking this could be the perfect opportunity for him to unlock my last ability. I could already feel him being so close, but he needs something like an obstacle to help challenge his convictions. Bryn's Lord, and behold, this barrier is the perfect obstacle for him. If he wants this sword and truly becomes the strongest Red Dragon Emperor, he'll truly need to want it in order to win. I'm curious. Ddraig thoughts. Braig serious partner. I want you to destroy this barrier without going into the balance breaker. I'm surprised. What? Greg serious. Like I just said, I want you to break the barrier without using your balance breaker. You can use the boosted gear and undo your seals as well as promote yourself, but you are not allowed to go into the balance breaker. Mind confused, but why Ddraig? Ddraig serious. Consider this like a part of your training, even though you can stay in balance breaker form for about a day. Now it wouldn't push the limits of your base form, since we want to make it that you only use balance breaker for only fighting our strongest opponents like the White One. I couldn't deny Drake's logic since he was right. There will be times that I will have to fight for a long period of time, and it wouldn't be a smart move to unleash my most powerful form so soon into a fight, especially when the time came for me to go up against my supposed rival, though a part of me hoped that we won't have to fight to the death, and maybe we could just have occasional sparse fights, and maybe one day we can be friends. Even when I offered that idea to Ddraig, he told me that it was highly unlikely since many of his previous hosts have tried but ended up regretting it later. But at least Natsu supported my idea since he told me he was able to make friends with the first wielder of Albion, and it was part of the reason why they were secretly considered the strongest red and white dragon emperors in history. But those thoughts were for another day since right now I need to hurry up and claim Yamato and return to Rias and the others. Issei mind serious. Okay, Ddraig. Let's do it. To say serious while looking behind him, I want you two to stand back a bit since it might get a little intense. Okay. Ingvild nods right. Line break. Third pause. Once Issei saw that Ingvild were far away from him, he started to get to work on undoing his seals. Once he started, his body started to have red glowing chains all around his body, in which one by one they began to break. Both Ingvild and Urza were shocked that Issei was holding himself back this much during his battles. Once the final chain was broken, the amount of power that Issei was releasing was immense, but what he said next would shock Urza and Ingvild even more. Issei's serious promotion queen. It was then Issei's demonic power skyrocketed to whole another level. Urza wondered why Issei didn't do this when he faced off with Cavalier when he came to rescue her and claim DSD. But her thoughts on the matter were quickly interrupted when Issei summoned the boosted gear and started boosting his power, which added more awe and shock for both her and Urza. Urza amazing who knew Master had this much power. Ingvild, Issei-san is so strong and amazing. Issei serious. Okay. Let's do this. It was then Issei using all of his strength started punching the barrier, but no matter how hard or how fast he punched the barrier, it didn't even leave a dent in it. This, of course, started to agitate Issei a bit since he couldn't believe that a stupid barrier was stopping him from moving forward on his quest. All the while inside the boosted gear, both Natsu and Nero gave Ddraig a devious smirk since they realized what the legendary dragon was doing, since if his aide did don his balance breaker, he could break this barrier no problem. Natsu smirks, so that's your plan, Nissan? Drake smirks. So you figured it out, Nero smirks. I was confused at first on why you told him to not use the balance breaker, but when I saw the barrier and the conditions you set for him, it was all coming together on why you told him that. Natsu smirks. So what would make Issei be? Greg smirks. This would make Issei the fourth since not even Elsha was able to unlock this ability despite her being my third strongest host. The only people who ever unlocked this ability were you, Belzard, and Nero. Thanks to Issei's training as well as his burning determination, I think he would be the fourth user to have unlocked this ability, but it seems he needs an extra push in order to achieve it. Meanwhile, back with his ace annoyed come on budge. Ace was still continuing to punch through the barrier surrounding the temple, but sadly, Ace wasn't able to even make a dent, scratch, or even crack on the barrier. This continued to annoy and infuriate Issei to no end since if can't break down a goddamn barrier, then how the hell was he going to be able to protect the people he loves and cares about? When Issei felt like he was almost reaching his limit, the gem on the boosted gear glowed and spoke, Ddraig. Break serious, is this seriously all you gotta say? Are you really letting these sleep barriers stop you from obtaining the power that you need to protect those you care about? Is this really the limit of my host? If this your limit, then I'm afraid to say that you have not changed at all and that you are still my Issei Draconic serious. Hey Ddraig. Do us both a favor and shut the hell up. Greg surprised, Draconic serious. You don't think I don't know what you're trying to do? Look, I know that I'm leagues away from reaching you or Natsu's level of power. Hell, I know that I even have quite a bit of ways away to even reach Belzard's level of power. But you're right. I won't let some measly barrier stop me from becoming the strongest Red Dragon Emperor in existence. Not when I came this far. Everyone was taken back on how Issei was acting and talking, especially Ddraig, who was honestly caught off guard. But the way he was speaking made it feel like he was possessed by someone, like they knew it was but at the same time it wasn't. But what next would shock Ddraig and Natsu to their core. Look, I know when you first woke up you were probably disappointed in me as your host since I was probably not what you wanted, since I was just a regular human, no less a pervert, and a part of you probably still does. But I'm not that person anymore, no. Matter what you see before you, is say hi to the Red Dragon Emperor and the next heavenly dragon in existence, and I don't care who stands in my way, whether it's a psycho devil, fallen angel, dragon, or even the gods themselves. Because nothing will stop me from reaching my goals and achieving my dream. Don't you see, Ddraig, you and I have the same dream? We both want to become the strongest dragon in existence. But we can't do that if we don't have complete faith in one another. Ddraig surprised to say, Issei Draconic smile. So just like I always put my faith in you, you have to put your faith in me as well. When me and you work together, nothing can stop us. We can achieve heights that not even Great Red himself can't possibly fathom. Now Ddraig lets us not only achieve our dreams, but also the dreams of your father, Igneal, couldn't achieve. We will become the next true Red Dragon God Emperor, and become true burning examples of what being a true dragon is all about. Smiles fondly, do this with me, Ddraig, and I will show you what I'm truly made of. I will show you my blazing determination. Both Natsu and Ddraig were at a loss for words. The pure determination in Issei's voice was unwavering and with no sign of hesitation or doubt. In all years and both being alive as well inside the sacred gear, the legendary Red Dragon has never met a human host filled with so much determination and drive before. This also made Ddraig think on how he interacted with his previous hosts like Nero and Natsu, since before all he had done was just given them a power boost and turn them into dragons. Besides that, it wasn't like he was fighting alongside any of them, but this current host who had gotten to know these past few months have both surprised and impressed in every step of the way. Maybe it was time for Ddraig to actually fight alongside his host instead of just being a source of power instead. The Draig mind smirks. Maybe it is time I stop sitting on the bench and actually do something with my host. Greg smirks. Okay. I say hi, dude. You've convinced me and we will overcome this together as true partners. Now show me this burning determination that you are so proud of. Issei Draconic smirks. I'm all fired up now. And ATS, you mind shocked. There it is again. There's no way that it's just a coincidence. Greg was also taken back from what Issei just said, But before he, Nero, and Natsu could say anything else, the mindscape started to change. All of the volcanoes started to erupt with pure fury and power, and the ground was starting to be surrounded with pure crimson and golden flames, and a blood-red crimson sun began to descend from the dark clouds of the volcanic ashes. Everyone was both confused and amazed at what happened to the mindscape, but they got even more confused when a giant door appeared that seemed to be locked, which for some reason, but also to have a huge crack in it, which intrigued Ddraig to a great deal since he felt drawn to the door. But right now, he was focused on helping his current host get through this barrier. Ddraig smirks. You're just chock full of surprises, aren't you, Issei Hyoudou? Ddraig, mind eyes narrowed. But why do I feel such a familiarity with that door? This power feels so familiar in so many ways. Meanwhile, with Issei, as soon as said those words, his body began to glow a crimson and golden color. It was like his body were surrounded by flames, given the amount of heat he was releasing. His eyes began to glow to the same fiery color that his body was producing. The heat was so intense that Ingvald had to put up a magic circle in order to protect herself and Urza from being scorched alive, but they couldn't deny that the amount of power and heat that Issei was releasing was amazing. From what they were seeing, Issei's heat and power was spreading way beyond the outskirts of the forest they were currently at. Meanwhile, in Yokai Castle, within the shadows of Kyoto lies the realm of the yokai, which resides as the home of many spirits that originated from Asia. Within the realm of the yokai lies the castle of the nine-tailed fox, who is considered the strongest of the yokai, as well as the leader of the yokai faction. Inside the castle lies a young woman with a voluptuous figure, and very long blonde hair with matching eyes. She is a woman with delicate facial features, and her eyebrows are cut very short and round, a symbol of nobility. Her hair is usually tied in a loose ponytail, reaching all the way down to her legs that ends in a spiral, with taut bandages to keep it in place. Her attire consisted of a yellow kimono, a golden obi, and wore a black pelt with gold skulls and lines printed on it. The kimono features a wide interior and it is open of her shoulders, giving view to her enormous breasts. This woman was Lady Yasaka the Nine Tails, as well as the current leader of the Akai faction. She was currently doing paperwork while her daughter Konu was playing with her son Naruto. That was until she felt a huge of heat and power coming from the other side of Kyoto, where the barrier that was placed by the son of the legendary Dark Knight, Sparta, decades ago. This concerned Yasaka greatly since not even her and Amaterasu combined with the power of the Lee Lions could even break through the barrier. Hence she declared the area forbidden from all yokai. But this power she was feeling was able to match her and Amaterasu combined or even surpass it. Isaka curious, what is this power? I've never felt anything like this before. A bit aroused. It feels so enticing. Serious. But whatever the case may be, this needs to be investigated, Ghislaine. As soon as Yasaka called out that name, the sliding door next to her opened and out came a woman with dark skin, a revealing leather outfit, rippling muscles, and full of scars all over her body. She wears an eye patch with a sculpted-like face, gives off a delinquent boss vibe. She completely feels like a female Amazon warrior from some fantasy story. Also, she has beast-like ears and a tail like a tiger's. Her fur is very thick. This woman was Ghislaine de Doldia, and she's Lady Yasaka personal guard, as well as her childhood friend. She's also considered the greatest sword user in the Okai faction. Is Lane serious? What is it, Lady Yasaka? Isaka serious? I'm sure you noticed the huge power surge, correct? Is Lane serious? Yes, it seems to be coming from the area where Virgil Sparta placed the barrier. Do you want me to investigate it? Isaka nods yes, because whoever is there did not come here without my permission and must know who we were dealing with. If they turn out to be an enemy, we cannot let them leave with the Yamato. Anyone who would get their hands on that sword is definitely a force to be reckoned with. As Lane nods understood, I leave at once. Isaka serious, takes Sasuke with you. Is Lane curious, why do I need to take my student with me? Isaka serious, because if this person turns out to be an enemy, then I believe Sasuke's Sharingan will be useful in subduing the enemy. Is Lane serious? I see very well. I'll go fetch and leave immediately. Once Ghislaine left to go get Sasa to head to the forbidden area, she slashed her shoulders and let out a sigh of exhaustion. She deeply hoped that she didn't send her childhood friend and her student to their deaths. But she was a faction leader and did what needed to be done in order to protect her people as well as Kyoto. Isaka sighs. I really do hope this person can be a possible ally. Meanwhile, in Takamigara are the abode of the heavenly god as the home Shinto gods that rule over the country, Japan. The most notable gods are obviously the Shinto trinity being Amaterasu, Susanoo, and Tsukiyama. Within the many shrines of the plains of the heavens resides a black-haired and black-eyed beautiful young woman in her late teens to the point of being noted as a transcendental beauty, conceptualizing Yamato Nadeshiko, an idealized Japanese woman. Her hairstyle, in particular, is a Heim cut, in addition to having a well-proportionate figure that appears to be the work of the gods, attracting men and women alike. She was dressed in a rather stylish kimono with various designs on them with a red haori, and that can at times hang off her shoulders in black jeta. This woman was no other than Amaterasu Amakami, who is the chief goddess of the Shinto faction, as well as the oldest sibling between Susanoo and Tsukiyomi. She was currently relaxing in her shrine until she felt this strange surge power and heat originating from Kyoto, and all her years she had never experienced such power and heat in her life since it even rivaled her divine flames. Amaterasu, curious, this power and heat that I'm feeling, it's like if the sun itself came crashing down to the earth. I wonder if Yusaku has figured out what's going on. Meanwhile, back with Issei was currently trying to pierce through the barrier in front of him, which he was still having a hard time trying to budge, but he wasn't giving up. The amount of power and heat he was releasing was rising, and it didn't look like it was going down anytime soon. Ingvild didn't know how long her magic circle would last. Issei Draconic smirks. Well, Ddraig, you ready to take this to the next level? Ddraig smirks. Ready when you are, partner. Issei Draconic smirks. Alright. Let's get this party started. Boost, 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 boost. It was then Issei's power began to double even further, and it was then they noticed how the barrier around the temple finally started to show cracks on the wall. Issei, seeing this, decided to push himself even further since he wasn't going to stop now, especially when he has made progress. Issei Draconic grins. Almost there, we got this. Ddraig, just a little further. Draig mind smirks. You got this, you're almost there, just one more push is all you need. Break roars in delight. Yes. We are now then, roar to the heavens on who you are with blazing determination. Issei Draconic roars in delight. That's right. Because I am Issei Hyoudou, and I am this generation's Red Dragon Emperor. I will become the next dragon god in existence, and nothing will get in my way. I don't care whether it's devil, fallen angels, or even the gods themselves. Nothing will stop me from achieving my dream. I will become the buzzing embodiment of what a true dragon should be. As soon as Issei made that declaration, the gem on the boosted gear started to shine so bright that it practically blinded both Ingvild and Urza. It was then Drake's voice boomed with a new call that helped completely destroy the barrier. Greg. Roars penetrate. With that call, the barrier instantly shattered, opening the path for Issei and his group to move forward. Though this caused Issei to drop to one knee trying to catch his breath, seeing Issei like this, both Ingvild and Urza rushed over to Issei to see if he was alright. Ingvild, Urza concerned. Issei, master. Ingvild, worried. Ice. Are you okay? Urza, worried. Is there anything I can do for you, master? Issei, breathing. I'm fine. I just need to catch my breath for a minute. Urza, serious. Should we turn back? Issei, serious. No. Because no doubt other supernatural beings must have felt that huge energy that I just released, and we can't leave Yamato here unprotected, especially with members of the old Satan faction, possibly trying to claim it for themselves. We need to get to retrieve Yamato, and hopefully get out of here before anyone notices that we were here. Ingvild concern, but Issei-san, aren't you exhausted from releasing all that energy? Smirks, I'll be fine. Trust me, it's going to take a lot more than that to bring me down. So, Drake, what was that ability that I just used? Drake grins. That was my final ability called Penetrate, which allows me to penetrate through all kinds of defenses, and you, Issei Hyoudou, are the fourth user to unlock this ability. He's shocked. War, really? You mean to tell me that not all of your previous wielders were able to unlock this ability? Greg serious. That's right. Just like how you were able to learn my flames, where a majority of my other hosts could not. You are the fourth host to unlock this ability. The only ones who were able to unlock this ability were Natsu, Belzard, Nero, and now you, Smirks. No doubt you are on your way into becoming my strongest host yet. Issei couldn't help but feel a bit of pride in himself since he was the only few people that was able to unlock this ability Ddraig back in his prime. The fact alone gave him the strength to get right back up and start heading towards the temple. Issei smiles. Alright, you two. Ready? Keep on going. Infiltrating nod happily high. But that confirmation Issei and his group continued onward towards the temple. Not knowing that near where they were, both Siegfried and Leonardo witnessed everything and couldn't believe their eyes that the person that they would have to fight was no other than the Red Dragon Emperor. Siegfried annoyed crap out of all the people that would be going after Yamato. It would be the Red Dragon Emperor. Leonardo stoic. Should we call Cao or George for backup? Siegfried serious. No, they're too busy with another mission that requires their undivided attention. But we can't let a powerful demonic sword like Yamato fall into the hands of the Red Dragon Emperor. The White Dragon Empress is already a problem all on her own, being a descendant of Lucifer. But if this generation's Red Dragon Emperor were to obtain Yamato, it could spell big trouble for our group. Smirks. Besides, this could work in our favor. We'll just let the Red Dragon do all the heavy lifting for us, and once his guard is down, I should be able to kill him and his friends with Graham. So for now, we just sit back and wait. Scene change. Abandoned temple. Issei and his group have just arrived at the temple where the last sword of Sparta, which is the Yamato, the temple, looked like it was abandoned for ages with the mosque growing all over the place. But Issei and his group couldn't help but still be amazed by the structure of said temple. When they reached inside, they noticed how everything was covered in dust and mold. Most likely it's been well over a few decades or centuries since the temple has been used. It was then Issei turned his attention towards the back of the main hall of the temple, in which he saw two cellar doors, and on the wall in front of it was a symbol similar to the ones where the other two swords were located, in which it looked like a blue sword surrounded in a blue crystal helix. Issei, Sirius found you. Infiltrating, over here, I found the entrance. Infiltrating, Sirius coming. Once Ursa and Ingvold caught up with him, Issei opened the cellar door in which a huge gust of wind came out, which sent shivers down Ingvold's spine. But Issei was not affected by the chilling sensation of what lies below since he couldn't afford something like that scare him, but in truth, a part of him felt a bit of excitement since he was experiencing something new, and the dragon inside of him couldn't help but wait to fight the guardian of this temple since he could tell that it was probably stronger than Cavalier. Issei smirks. Down we go. Meanwhile, inside the boosted gear, we see Ddraig, Natsu, and Nero standing in front of the giant cracked door that appeared in the mindscape when Issei unlocked the penetrate ability. All of them noticed that there was a lot of power residing on the other side of that door, meaning that there was more power that Issei had hidden within him. Greg was more drawn to the door than the other two because not did sense power behind the sealed door, but also memories that he thought that neither here as host had forgotten or did not recognize. That's so curious. What do you think it is, Nai-san? Greg, serious? I don't know, but for some reason, I sense something familiar behind this door. Nero, curious. How so? Greg nods. Not sure, but there's only one way to find out. Natsu. Nero, curious. It was then Ddraig placed his claw on the door and began to try to undo the seal on it only to receive the massive shock and receive a headache. Greg roars in pain. Nah. Natsu. Nero panics. Nai-san. Ddraig. Greg in pain. What the hell am I looking at? It was then Ddraig started to see images of Issei as a child, and for some reason, he remembered these events. He saw Issei playing with a white silver-haired girl, who shockingly turned out to be the host of his rival Albion, and that he was already awake at the time, and Issei already had unlocked the boosted gear. He also saw a black-haired woman who seemed to be a few years older than them, who they were both fond of at the time. Ddraig also saw that despite Issei and this girl being rivals, they still got along and even sensed that the host of Albion even developed a crush on his host and that he was for some reason okay with it. He felt that his bond with Issei at the time was just as strong as when he was with Natsu. It was then Ddraig how his host was being able to use magic. He saw his Issei being two advanced forms of spatial magic as well as being summoned light holy magic as well as shadow. But what shocked the legendary Red Dragon was his host being able to summon weapons out of thin air all at a young age. But everything went south when his parents found out about him using magic as well unlocking the boosted. But what made the Red Dragon curious was their facial expression, since it wasn't fear, hate, resentment, or envy, like most humans react when being aware of the supernatural, but it was out of sadness and concern for their son. It was then Issei's parents dragged his host back to his home, where he saw three black-haired individuals that he knew even before he was sealed inside the boosted, and performed a ritual in which it would seal away his abilities as well as both him and Issei's memories. When it was done, Ddraig collected himself while both Natsu and Nero came running to their brother and previous partner. Ddraig groans in pain. My head. Natsu concerned, Ni-san, are you okay? Nero curious, I don't think I've never seen you get hurt like that before. Just what the hell is that door hiding? Greg serious. I know exactly what's behind that door, and the only people who can undo it are back in Kwa. Natsu curious. Do you think this Ria's girls secretly put another seal inside to say? Greg nods, no. This seal is beyond her level of skill, and it is a near-god class sealing spell, and it seems this is not the first time Issei has awakened me. Nero confused. What are you talking about, Ddraig? Ddraig looks at the sealed door with eyes narrowed. Let's just say that when we get back to Kwa, I'm going to have a serious talk with Issei's parents along with that bastard Azazel. Back with Issei, Ingvald, and Urza have been walking down the hall of where I opened up the cellar door, and so far they have not encountered any demons of the sort which concern Issei a bit, since either the demons in charge of this temple are waiting where Yamato resided, or Virgil was so confident in the Guardian would be enough that he saw no need to add any other protection. This made Issei lean towards more the latter, since he believed that only someone who had an ability similar to penetrate, or someone who is on the top 10 strongest, could possibly break through that barrier. But that didn't make him drop his guard, since it could all be a trick to throw him. Ingvald, of course, got nervous and began clinging on to Issei's arm, which he didn't mind, while Larissa had her arm gripped tightly on the Red Queen and remaining vigilant in case a demon decided to get the drop on them. Eventually reached a large area where a large stone double-sided door. Being bold, nervous, are we finally at the end? Urza, serious seems too easy if the person who made this place only relied on a barrier to keep one of the most powerful demonic swords from arm's reach. Issei serious, I agree. Keep you guys' eyes up because panics get down now. It was then Issei's instincts kicked in, which he grabbed both Ingvald and Urza out the way, in which a big boom surrounded the area with dust. Ingvald coughs. What was that? There's a cough that literally came out of nowhere. Issei serious. Looks like we got company. When the dust settled, in front of Issei was a very large demon composed of mismatched parts from different animals. His head, torso, and 4-digit claws are similar to a lion's, with one eye missing and a single curved horn atop. He has talons instead of feet and 4 wings which can unfold from his back. He also has a scorpion tail. When Issei saw the demon, something inside of him made him completely pissed off, like he needed to get rid of this demon once and for all. His fist tightened in anger, which confused the brown-haired boy since he had never met this demon before. I mind confused and angry. Why am I so angry at this demon? I've never even met him before. Is this because of the DSD or something else? Serious. Whatever the case may be, this demon needs to be destroyed if I want to get to Yamato. Drake. Greg. Curious. What is it? Issei. Mind. Serious. I'm going all out. Greg. Surprised. Why? Issei. Mind. Serious. I don't know why, but it's like something inside my soul is telling me to obliterate this demon from existence. Angry every time I look at it, it feels like I need to correct a mistake I made. This surprised the Red Dragon, since he has never felt such anger from his host before. He honestly didn't activate the Juggernaut drive yet, which probably meant he still had some control over himself, but that didn't explain why this surge of anger and bloodlust that his host had. But one thing was for sure, this wasn't his host's anger that he was feeling, it was someone else's. Break serious. Okay then, I got your back, partner. I guess you going all out might be the best course of action, since Beowulf was also a high-ranking demon in Mundus's army along with Sparta. Issei mind eyes narrowed in anger, so that's his name. Issei eyes narrowed in anger while summoning DSD Beowulf. The oath enraged the stench, I know it anywhere, the stench of betrayal. The odor of that accursed Sparta. Issei eyes narrowed, you two, stay back and get to a safe distance. I will take care of this demon myself. Seeing how serious Issei was, as well as could tell from the tone of his voice, he was furious upon laying on that demon. Nevertheless, they did what they were told and got back to a safe distance, but not before looking at Issei again, and what they saw sent shivers down their spines. For a brief moment they saw Issei's eyes glowing blood red, and his body was being surrounded by darkness, pure darkness. It wasn't evil, but dark nevertheless. It was then the darkness took the shape of the demon with 3 blood-red crimson eyes. The RZA mind serious, just like with the fight with Cavalier. Master, just what are you really? Issei eyes narrowed in anger. Balance breaker. Welsh dragon. Balance breaker. From that call, Issei was donned in his new balance breaker. It was then the blade on DSD opened, revealing a molten core-like substance between the 2 parts of the blade. Then Issei brought the blade around him, and out came 8 crimson spectral blades. The old serious Sparta with the red dragon emperor. Does your shame know no bounds, Sparta? This boost boost, this boost boost, this boost boost, this boost boost, this boost boost. Explosion. With his power boosted, Issei charged straight forward towards Beowulf, in which the ancient demon blocked Issei's initial attack with his arm, but resulted in him having a deep cut. Issei then sent mental commands to the spectral blades to spin rapidly like saws and begin cutting parts of Beowulf. Seeing that Beowulf was taking a lot of damage from the spectral blades, he quickly jumped away. But Issei wasn't going to give him a chance to recover and went after Beowulf with DSD in hand. It was then Beowulf coated his fist with light demonic energy, and was about to try a devastating blow to Issei, seeing that Issei had no choice but to block it with a blade of DSD since he was too close to Beowulf to dodge his attack. The attack sent Issei skidding back all the way towards where Niringvild and Urza were hiding. Annoyed by this, he decided to end this fruitless battle. It was then Issei bent down a little and out his left hand on the floor. He then switched the way he held DSD that it made it look like he was going to do a upward slash, and once he was in position, he began pouring his demonic energy into the blade on top of adding bits of his demon slayer magic into the mix, and for added measure, Issei boosting his power further. Boost 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 boost. Seeing what Issei was trying to do, Beowulf began to charge wildly towards Issei before he could execute his attack. As Beowulf got closer to Issei, the devil swerved Dante to glow in a mixture of emerald green and violent demonic red, signifying that whatever attack was about to perform will no doubt be devastating if it hits. Just when Beowulf was at arm's length of Issei, Drake's voice boomed with a call that would spell the end for Beowulf, and Issei spoke in a cold voice almost demonic, like signifying his attack was ready and was about to fire. Transfer, Issei, demonic cold overdrive. That was when let out a fury of demonic shock waves that ended up slicing Beowulf's head into 4 pieces. It was then a large thump was heard indicating Beowulf's body landed on the ground dead. All the while, Langvold and Urza watched what happened in pure awe and amazement. But before they could go up to Issei to congratulate or check on Issei on his condition, a bright light emerged from the deceased corpse of Beowulf. Already deactivating his balance breaker, Issei looked at the hand-glowing ball of light with a stoic expression since he could already know what this meant. As such, he extended his hand to call the bright orb of light, which came to him immediately. That was when a bright light engulfed the area, blinding everyone except Issei. When the light died down in gold, and Urza saw that Issei was wearing a set of black gauntlets and greaves with a somewhat animalistic look. Istic cloak. The gauntlets vaguely resemble a wolf's head with fangs and mane. The greaves look like clawed legs. They also have glowing veins that have white light flowing through them. Issei was intrigued with the new devil arm that he just got, since now he had a weapon besides the boosted gear for melee battles, and seeing the corpse of Beowulf, he decided to test these new devil arms on it. Once he finally got a feel for the new devil arms, he thought he should ask Nero on what these devil arms called before storing them away inside his devil bringer, since he was his local devil arms expert. Issei, I'm curious. Hey, Nero. Do you know what these devil arms are called? Nero, serious. They bear the same name as the demon you just killed. Its name is Beelf, and they were the only devil arms that my father possessed besides Yamato before he died. I'm guessing my old man must have released Beelf from being a devil arm and forced him to be the guardian of Yamato, which I'm not surprised since I heard from Dante that my grandfather did the same thing to him before. This surprised Issei a bit since now he had 2 devil arms that belonged to the sons of the legendary Dark Knight Sparta. It was then he placed Beowulf inside the devil bringer in order to store it away. After he did that, he saw both Ingvald and Urza running towards him with a worried expression on their faces. Ingvald, Urza worried. Issei, Sandmaster. Issei smiles weakly. Hey, you two. Are you alright? Ingvald, concerned, we're fine, but what happened to you? I've never seen so angry like that before. There's a concern I have to agree with her master. You look like you were possessed or something. What happened? What made you have such anger and bloodlust? I say confused, I don't know. When I saw Beelz, something inside me just snapped, and all I could think of was just killing him, but it was like I was trying to correct a mistake that I made. Shakes head. It was weird. I honestly felt like I wasn't entirely myself, like when I broke the barrier, like I was there. But at the same time I felt like someone besides Ddraig was in my head taking the wheel right along with me. It wasn't that we were fighting each other, but actually helping each other out. Both Ingvald and Urza listened closely to what Issei just told them and tried to figure out what happened to him, but couldn't think of a possible reason why was acting like that in the first place. Even Ddraig, who was secretly listening to what his host just said and was also curious on why his host had been acting strangely during their time trying to obtain Yamato. Ddraig thought that maybe it was the result of the seals on his memories beginning to break, but felt that wasn't entirely it. Deciding not to overthink it since he still needed to put together the memories he also just received from touching the mysterious door, he decided to put that thought in the back of his mind for the being. After collecting himself and catching his breath, Issei got up and headed straight towards the large double-sided doors. When Issei opened it, he as well as Ingvald and Urza found a large cave-like area with a single beam of light coming from the ceiling and aiming right at a pedestal, which held a sword. The sword was a katana with a gold dragon-styled manuki inserted underneath the tsukumaki to allow for the fingers to grip. The tsuba handguard is now gold and a deep navy blue shaped like an octagon with 2 trapezoidal halves, each with gold dot pattern patches, and in a grove-like motif with gold rings, inside of which are various circles and clusters of 3 arranged in triangular patterns, and the gold hibachi fuller is also with a similar embossed pattern. The heimin featured is a kawazuko choji, or tadpole head clove-styled heimin, similar to those found on blades historically made by Osafian Nagamitsu. The blade has also been given prominent temper lines. The scabbard is black, made of traditional lacquered wood, and features several metallic ornaments on its far end. Just like with Issei, instantly felt a pull towards the blade, which possibly meant that the sword must have found him worthy of wielding it. Issei mind curious Nero is that? Nero serious, that's right, the one and only Yamato, otherwise called the god of death. It can slice through essentially everything, even space itself if it wanted to. Issei was amazed and in awe of the sword in front of him, even though he was probably a better swordsman than Kiba by now. He could tell from first glance that a blade such as this should belong to a master among master of the sword. But before Issei could take another step towards the sword, he thought it was about time to call out the 2 people that had been following him and his group since entering the temple. Issei says, there's no use hiding anymore. I've known that you've 2 been following us since we entered the temple. Ingvald confused, clap clap. Siegfried smiles while clapping. I must say you are impressed to notice us for that long, but I expect nothing less from the Red Dragon Emperor. Smirks, if I had to guess that you're even more dangerous than your rival. At that statement, Issei's eyes narrowed at the mention of his supposed rival, which meant he's either nearby or the people following him work for him. Issei's eyes narrowed. So you 2 know who my rival is? Am I to guess you're working with him? Siegfried chuckles. Heaven, no, I wouldn't catch myself working with her. But to answer your first question, Red Dragon, yes, I do know who your rival is, and let me tell you she is going to have a tough time going up against a monster like yourself. Issei mind surprised. So my rival is a girl. Confused, why do I feel like I already knew that, and that I may have met her before? Shakes his head, worry about that later. Right now I might have a possible fight on my hands. Urza annoyed while pointing the Red Queen towards the exit. Enough of this, show yourselves, cowards. It was then from the corner of the door where Urza, Ingvald and Urza came, Siegfried and Leonardo, with the former having a confident smirk on his face. This made Issei aggravated a bit since the former looked almost exactly like the stray exorcist, Fried Selzen. Issei, serious. Oh, care to tell me why two humans are doing here in a place that could have easily been infested by demons? Siegfried smirks. Why, that simple Red Dragon Emperor, we're here for the Yamato. And since I see that you also possess the Devil's Sword, Dante, I will be taking that as well. The Issei eyes narrowed. And what makes you think I would let you take either of them? Who the hell are you and who do you work for? Is it the old Satan faction? Siegfried smirks. My name is Siegfried, a descendant of the original Siegfried. Gestures to Leonardo. This boy next to me is Leonardo, and we don't work for that despicable old Satan faction. We are part of the hero faction of the Chaos Brigade. Curious hero faction, Chaos Brigade. Leonardo stoic. Nice work explaining who and what we are, Siegfried-san. Do you want also tell them our agenda and future plans while you're at it? Siegfried annoyed while smacking Leonardo in the head. Shut up. You barely talk throughout the entire mission, and the first time you actually say something, you do to shit on me. Besides, they're all about to die anyway, so why does it matter? Seeing that shocked everyone in group since Leonardo was technically just a child and was most likely barely a middle schooler. But seeing that ticked Issei off since seeing a kid being hurt like that is unforgivable, especially for a boy as young as Leonardo, who shouldn't even be in a place like this, even if he was aware of the supernatural and may have a sacred gear. Siegfried sighs in annoyance. Anyway, smirks, I'm going to. But before Siegfried could finish his sentence, Issei with lightning speed appeared in front of him and punched him square in the jaw, sending him flying past the exit of the room they were currently in. Issei, of course, had a furious expression on his face from what he just saw. Issei furious. The hell is wrong with you? He's your teammate, let alone a child, and you just smack him just because he talked back to you. Looks at Leonardo with a bit concern. Are you okay, kid? Leonardo seemed this confused since why would a devil as well as a dragon would have any form of sympathy for him? But before Leonardo could respond, Siegfried was getting back up while fixing his jaw since it seemed to say must have dislocated it with that punch. Siegfried serious. With one punch, you were able to dislocate my jaw, and I could tell you were holding back. I guess I was right, you really are a danger to our plans in the future. Especially since you're on the side of the devils. The sea eyes narrowed. This is your only warning. Leave now or I promise you that you will not see the end of this day. Siegfried smirks. No, I don't think I will. Since I'm a descendant of the dragon slayer, it's only right that I do my ancestor proud and slay the dragon in front of me. Issei, of course, inwardly scoffed at that remark since he briefly heard the story of the original Siegfried and how he slayed the evil dragon Fafnir with the sword Gram and Balmung, and even though Issei held some respect for the hero due to his character, but would never call him a true dragon slayer like him and Natsu, since he relied his two blades to kill the dragon, where Issei would use his fists to defeat him. It was then Siegfried pulled out a large double-edged sword that has vibrant colors despite being a demon sword. The pommel is a gold cone-like shape with the addition of a triangle attached to the pommel. The triangle is missing the base and the middle of it because of the pommel, and the handle is colored with a mix of red and purple. The cross guard is a rectangular bar colored black with gold symbols etched onto it, a brown X mark in the middle, and features a red semicircle protrusion on both sides of the cross guard. The blade is black with a red edge, but a red aura sometimes shrouds it, giving it a dark red color all around. The blade itself is fairly long and near the tip, it curves upwards then curves back in. The blade also sports 3 hollow holes in the form of a triangle and is located in the middle of the blade, curving upwards. At the bottom of the blade, there is a piece of metal acting as a fuller. It has red lines on it that increase in height, but it stays on the golden part, and the fuller at the bottom is in the shape of a rectangle standing upwards. The difference is that the top left has a large amount taken off it, which makes the left side shorter compared to the right. Further along the blade is a golden design, which looks like a blade with two black rectangles connected by a line, and the tip of it goes out by a small degree and goes back into the tip of the blade. The tip part of the blade design is two black modified squares and a black diamond-like circle shape. Issei, of course, could feel the demonic and dragon-slaying attributes in the blade, which led to one conclusion of what that blade was and had to be somewhat careful with it. Issei mind eyes narrowed, so that's Graham. I'm not gonna. I thought the demonic blade of its stature would be a little more imposing like a DSD, but with an aura like that, it's not mistaking it. I'd better be careful or else I'm screwed. Greg serious. I agree, even though it's not a holy sword, it still has dragon-slaying attributes. And even though at your level, you can withstand a few hits of it, you can't let yourself be cocky. Since we don't know how skilled this one is, it's best that you just make sure that you're just faster than him. Okay? Issei mind serious. Got it? Siegfried smirks. Now then, Red Dragon Emperor, let us see whose demonic sword is superior. DSD or Graham? Leonardo, how about you take care of the Red Dragon's playmates while I handle him myself? Leonardo nods. It was then Leonardo started forming shadows around, and about a dozen dark-armored figures with black angelic wings and swords in hand emerged from the pool of shadows. Nero, seeing this, was shocked because how the hell did these people were able to get those to work with them? Nero shocked how the hell did these fucks get their hands on those things? Issei mind curious. Nero, you know what those things are. Nero annoyed. Those things are called Alto Angelo. They're artificial demons created by a mad scientist named Angus who was part of the Order of the Sword, but I thought me and Dante destroyed any trace of those fuckers. They say, serious, how the hell did you guys get Alto Angelos? Siegfried smirks. I see you've done your homework, Red Dragon. Well, to sort of answer your question, Leonardo here happens to possess the high-tier Longinus known as Annihilation Maker, which allows him create whatever monster he imagined. And we just happened to stumble some old files from the Order of the Sword for him to use as a reference. This shocked Issei and his group, especially Drake, since a few of previous hosts went up against previous users of that exact same Longinus and knew from experience that they were definitely a pain in the ass to deal with. But luckily, Drake could tell that this child is not skilled enough yet to be that much of a problem, so there was a chance for his host and his group to get out of this unscathed. Seeing the situation they were in, Issei summoned DSD and got ready to face off Siegfried. Issei serious, you two take care of the Alto Angelos while trying to knock the user out of commission. I'll take care of Siegfried. Urza Ingvald nods high. It was then Urza charged with the Red Queen in hand when Lingvald, using her demonic power, summoned a small legion of water dragons to attack the Alto Angelos. All while Issei, with a serious expression, pointed DSD directly at Siegfried. Issei, serious while pointing DSD, now then shall we dance, descendants of Siegfried? Siegfried smirks, indeed we shall. It was then Issei and Siegfried began their clash to see whose demonic blade was superior. Siegfried was surprised at how well Issei was in using DSD, since if the timing was correct, then Issei should only have had DSD for not even a week, and he was able to wield it like if he had it for his whole life. This made Siegfried have a small form of respect for Issei to have essentially practically mastered a legendary sword like DSD in a short amount of time was nothing short of amazing, but he figured that he might have to go all out in order to take down this opponent in front of him. Issei was also impressed by Siegfried's sword skills. If he had to guess, he was even leagues away from even Kiba, but he could tell he was holding back a bit. Kling, Siegfried smirks, I must admit your sword skills are quite impressive, Red Dragon Emperor. AC smirks, you're not bad yourself, though it is a shame that we were on opposite sides. Siegfried smirks, I sadly must agree, since I haven't felt this much excitement since my rival left to join the White Dragon Empress, but I think this dance is going on for too long. Balance breaker. One Siegfried said that 4 dragon arms were growing out from his back with his power doubling for each. As a result, Siegfried obtains 4 additional dragon's arms, and with those arms, he pulls out 4 more demonic swords along with the Sword of Light. This put Issei on edge a bit since now he was going to fight 6 blades in total, as well as not only dealing with Graham, but also a Sword of Light. Ddraig told Issei mentally that was twice critical and looked to be a subspecies balance breaker of swords, but still had to be a bit worried since he couldn't let either Graham or the light sword damage him too much. Siegfried smirks. Chaos edges, sir, ravage, my subspecies balance breaker. So Red Dragon, what will you do? Issei mind serious. I can't go into balance breaker again since I already used a lot of power already destroying the barrier and taking down Beowulf. At the very I have 10 or so boosts left before I'm out for the count. Seeing this, Issei summoned the boosted gear and tried boosting himself a few times in order to match Siegfried, as well as using DSD to summon spectral blades in order to help counteract the other 5 blades that Siegfried had. Issei serious. Alright, let's finish this dance. It was then both Issei and Siegfried charged right at each other with great fury. They're clashing with one another, perfectly parrying each other's attack. Every time Siegfried thought he had the upper hand or one of his extra arms were about to land, a blow Issei would either perfectly parry his attack or one of his spectral blades would block the attacks from his other arms. Siegfried mind annoyed. Damn, even with me using chaos, Egiosur's revenge, he's still keeping up with me. Looks like I'm really going to need some help after all. It was then Siegfried looked over, and Leonardo was able to hold off Ingvald and Urza for the time being, but it looked like he wasn't going to hold for much longer. Leonardo looked over to Siegfried, in which the latter gave him a slight nod, which Leonardo knew exactly what that meant and got ready. As Issei was finally getting the edge over Siegfried, he decided to give Siegfried one last chance to surrender. Fling, Issei's serious look, despite me being both a devil and a dragon, I'm a fairly reasonable and nice guy. So I'm giving you one last chance to give up, and you and your friend can leave with any more damage. Siegfried smirks. No, I don't think I will, besides you're about to die anyway. Issei confused. It was then Issei saw Siegfried casually looking to his right, and by the time Issei what Siegfried was looking at, it was too late. Stab Blurg. And wielder is a horrified. Issei Sam Master. Issei was now pinned to the wall by the lances of 3 Alto Angelos that Leonardo had summoned to help Siegfried. Ingvald, upon seeing Issei, had a horrified expression on her face since she now lost someone else that she was close to, which caused her demonic energy to spiral out of control, destroying the Alto Angelos surrounding her. All while, Urza was beyond furious and was glaring daggers at Siegfried for using such a cowardly tactic to defeat and kill the person who saved her from imprisonment, and swore to be her servant. Urza furious while laming the Red Queen. Coward, you call yourself a descendant of a hero like Siegfried, and use such a cowardly tactic like that to kill my master. Siegfried laughs. You act like we were having a friendly spar. You're such a fool. This was a battle to live. Even your precious master knew that, and he let his guard down. Urza furious. Damn you. It was then Urza tried to charge straight towards Siegfried, only to be blocked by a few Alto Angelos, who were able to push her back. Seeing that he was in the clear, Siegfried went ahead to claim before grabbing DSD from Issei. As Siegfried got closer to the legendary sword, he could feel the demonic energy that was oozing off it. It felt so intoxicating. He now understood why so many people were after these legendary blades that the Dark Knight forged. Just being near them made you feel like you can become invincible. Siegfried grins darkly. Finally, I will have the power of the legendary knight, Sparta. With these blades, no one will be able to stop me. I will show the entire supernatural world what humanity is capable of. But as soon as Siegfried grabbed the handle of the katana, the said released a torrent of violent demonic energy that began attacking Siegfried. Siegfried screams in pain. Everyone saw the amount of pain Siegfried was in, but couldn't help but feel that he deserved it. But one thing was for sure, Yamato was rejecting him. Just Siegfried thought it couldn't get any worse. His entire body was covered in cuts. Thankfully, since he was an artificial human, he wasn't dead but severely wounded. He then covered the part of him that was bleeding the most and applied pressure to die from blood loss. Siegfried coughs out blood. How? I'm the greatest demonic sword wielder, since the original Siegfried, My aptitude for demonic swords is unmatched. Ursa serious, it's obvious the sword found you unworthy since it saw you were willing to sink to such cowardly methods in order to obtain it. Since from what I heard about the legends of the Dark Knight Sparta, despite being a demon, he was a man of honor and had a heart to love another human being, something that my master possessed. Yamato saw the darkness within your heart, and thus it rejected you. Siegfried, annoyed, shut up. It's just a damned sword. It doesn't have any feelings. So what could it tell what is in someone's heart? There's a serious while dodging a swing from an alto angelo. Then why did Yamato reject you if you claimed to be the greatest demonic sword wielder? Serious while parrying an attack. My master, Issei, told me when he let me borrow the Red Queen that a weapon of any kind is an extension of yourself, and as such your weapon feels what you are feeling, and that if you care and have faith in your weapon, then in return it will protect and care for you in return. Hearing that, Siegfried scoffed at the remark, since a weapon's only purpose is to serve its master, and that was it. But of course, as soon as he thought of that, two of the blades within his coat began to move around and out came Graham, but also another sword. The sword was a long sword with a darkish purple color, which reached up to half the blade nearing towards the upper portion where it is silver. It has a unique cross guard, a light purple part placed onto the cross guard, extending up the purple-colored fuller with a small yellow circle in the middle, making it seem almost like an eye, a yellow two-handed grip, and a purple pommel that has light purple ornaments around it. This sword was known as Bauming, another dragon slaying that was wielded by the original Siegfried, but it had the power to create strong whirlwinds. It was then the mention started to float away from Siegfried, both confusing and shocking the user that his two most powerful demonic swords had essentially rejected him. But what shocked him even more when said swords went towards Ursa, who was also surprised that these two legendary blades have chosen her to be their wielder. Ursa, shocked, you two want me to be your wielder? It was then the two swords came closer to her almost as if they were pleading for her to take them in. Seeing this, Ursa formed a soft smile while planting the Red Queen on the ground and grabbed both swords. Ursa smiles softly, okay, then I'll take you in and I promise that I will look after you as you would look after me. Once she said those words, she swung both swords and to her surprise that they felt nice, even more so when she was using the Red Queen. It felt like she was meant to use these swords, not knowing that the two blades themselves felt the exact same way with her. Siegfried was shocked at how both Graham and Bauming accepted her so easily and that their demonic aura had increased even further. Even more so when he wielded them. This, of course, filled Siegfried with jealousy, and from that jealousy, he remembered that he had something in his coat just in case either him or Leonardo got into a life or death situation. As he rummaged through his coat, he found a tear-shaped vial, which held a glowing pink liquid. These were phoenix tears made only by the famous phoenix family, which have the ability to heal essentially any wound and restore them back to perfect health. Once Siegfried gulped down the liquid inside the vial, his wounds instantly started to heal, in which he started to get an angry expression on his face. Siegfried enraged, it seems that not only do I have to retrieve both Yamato and DSD, but it seems that I also need to retrieve my treacherous swords as well. Seeing this, Ursa got into a battle-ready stance ready to face Siegfried, but before they could engage, everyone felt a surge of demonic energy that made them stop in their tracks. The demonic energy was so immense and powerful that it made Ingvald stop crying and regain herself. Everyone followed where the immense demonic energy was coming from, which shockingly came from Issei himself. It was then they all heard Issei breathing heavily as well as growling like if he was some kind of beast. But it didn't matter to Ursa and Ingvald since it meant that their master friend was still alive. All the while Siegfried and Leonardo were shocked that Issei was still alive from being impaled. All the while, the Yamato was starting to react to Issei's demonic energy. Ingvald smiling while wiping her tears away, Issei-san. Ursa smiles joyfully, Master, I knew you wouldn't be killed that easily. Leonardo. Mind shocked to think he's still alive from being impaled multiple times. Just what is he? Siegfried mind horrified. Just what the hell is going on with the red and white dragons of this generation? They're fucking monsters. Inside Issei's mind, a few minutes ago, Issei was deep inside his mind in what seemed to be an endless dark void. He was furious at himself that he let his guard down like an idiot. He tried calling out for Ddraig, Natsu, or even Nero, but no response, which concerned him because he couldn't be dead, he just couldn't. Not only could he leave Urza and Ingvild to Siegfried and Leonardo, but he also didn't keep his promise to become the strongest Red Dragon Emperor in existence, and to make sure everyone that he cared about was safe and protected. He wasn't able to confess his love to Riaz or maybe get the chance to see Aztith again. But most importantly, he didn't get to see parents one last time to tell them that he loved them and that he was part of the supernatural. All these thoughts filled Desi with so much dread and worry. Desi angry, come on, there needs to be a way to get out of here. I need to get back to them. Ingvild illusion screams, aahh. Issei surprised. What the? Ingvild illusion scared. Issei saying, illusion concerning Ingvild. Ingvild, where are you? The Rza illusion panics, master, where are you? Issei concern Urza, where are you? Ingvild, Rza illusion panics, help us, Issei-san master. Issei panics Urza, Ingvild. Issei looked desperately to find Urza and Ingvild, only to see nothing but the void he was currently in. And if to make things worse, he started to hear a new set of voices came to say that he knew all too well. Miki illusion scared, Issei. Doru illusion scared, Sai illusion scared, Issei Kun. Issei horrified mom dad Asia, where are you? Tell me. Mikigoro Asi illusion screams. Horrified no. Akeno illusion horrified. Shocked Takino senpai. Aoneko illusion screams. Aahh. Aiba illusion screams. Aahh. Is horrified Kaneko Kiba. Ries illusion scared Issei. Issei horrified no Rias, where are you? Ries illusion scared Issei, help me. Issei horrified Rias. Ries illusion screams, no. As kept on hearing the screams of his loved ones in danger all while calling out his name, he began to shed tears of grief that once again he wasn't strong enough to protect the people he cares about. It was then a new voice that he knew all too well, and instead of sadness and grief, it filled him with rage and hatred. Smirks darkly, my, all that training and you still the weak, pathetic boy I dated. Issei growls and glares with pure hatred. What the hell are you doing here, Rainer? The person in front of him was an attractive young woman with violet eyes having a slender body. She had long silky black hair down to her hips and possessed 2 black feathered wings. Her attire consisted of black strap-like leather around and under her breasts, a thong-like piece held around her hips by 3 thin straps, gloves that ran right up her arms with small lengths of chains hanging from them, shoulder guard-like objects on her shoulders with 3 large spikes sprouting from her right shoulder, and black thigh-high heeled boots. This woman was Rainer Ayumu that Issei called, and she was Issei's ex-girlfriend and was the person who killed him and thrusted him into the supernatural world. Brain or smiles, now what kind of girlfriend would I be if I wasn't there during your time of need? The sage glares, cut the crap, I know damn well you don't give a damn about me. You used me, toyed with my emotions, and what did you do when it wasn't enough? You killed me thrusting into this crazy side of the world that I wouldn't have bothered entering if I had a choice and went to kill Asia for her sacred gear. Rainer smiles happily, I don't regret a single moment of it. Rainer smiles darkly, where was this Rainer when we were dating? If you would have acted at least a fraction of who you are now, then I definitely wouldn't have minded being your actual girlfriend. Hell, we probably would have ended the date in the bedroom. The Issei glares like I would sleep with someone like you. Rainer smiles. Oh, I say, you're so mean. How could it be like that to your first girlfriend? Covers her mouth. Oh, wait. Smiles darkly. I'm your second fake spouts. How could you eyes? I thought I was special. But you secretly had some girl deep within your heart. Say furious, don't you dare talk about ASD. Like that she's special, not like some whore like you, who was trying to get the attention of someone who will less likely give a damn brainer. Annoyed, look who's talking. Here you are with your heart on a girl who up and left you and another girl who will only see you as nothing more than a boy that she happened to save. Smirks darkly. But I guess it doesn't matter since you're dead. They say shocked what? Rainer grins darkly, you heard me dead, stone cold dead, and even with all that training and power you have, You still were too weak and pathetic to stop yourself from being killed, but hey, at least you put up a better fight than when you fought me. Issei became distraught. There was no way that he was dead, it couldn't be. He still needed and wanted to do so many things before he finally kicked the bucket. Issei started to fall into a great depression, which Rainer began to laugh darkly at Issei's pitiful state. But just when the flame began to die out, he glanced over to the ring on his right hand and remembered the promise he made to S. Death. They say, depressed if you die, then that means you are weak, the strong shall survive, and the weak shall die. Brain or confused, annoyed? What the hell are you talking about? S. Death, serious as death, taught me those words, and I promised her that when we met again that I would become the strongest. I refuse to break any promise that I make, especially to the people I care for. And just like that, the fire in his eyes returned brighter and hotter than ever with newfound determination to not let something like death from reaching his goals. It was then the endless black void became a place of never-ending flames. It was like walking on the sun itself. This shocked Rainer because she had never seen Issei with so much passion and determination before. Rainer, annoyed, but you're dead. There's no way you can escape death. How are you going to pull something like that off? Say, serious, I need power, more power. As if someone had answered Sei's prayers, so to speak, a new voice spoke from beyond the flames. It was one that wasn't recognized, but couldn't help but feel a sense of comfort from it. Serious, so you desire power? Then tell me, boy, why do you seek such power? Say, serious. Because I want to be able to protect the people I care for. Serious. That is not a reason to desire power. Say, shocked, what? How? Serious. Because might controls everything, and without strength, you cannot protect anything, let alone yourself. For you to desire power solely to protect others, then who will protect you? The simple answer is simple. No one. The only person that can protect you is you. Smirks. Besides, we both know that is not the real reason why you desire power. So tell not only me but also yourself the absolute truth on why desire power. It was then that Issei went into deep thought, and he couldn't deny what the voice was telling him was the truth. In reality, being able to protect the ones he loves is honestly minor to what his actual was, and that goal was to become the strongest in existence. He wanted to be someone that even the dragon gods would think twice before going up against him, because with power like that he could do whatever and protect whoever he wants, and no one could stop him. When he finally had his answer, he raised head with his hair covering his eyes and spoke with a voice filled with determination and desire. To say, serious, the reason why I want power is because I don't want to be weak anymore. Over and over, I'm reminded of how weak I was and I hated it. I don't want no. I refuse to go back to the weakling I was before. I want the power to become the strongest version of myself so that no one will dare challenge, underestimate, or hurt the ones close to me ever again. Smirks, humph, and what will you sacrifice in order to obtain such power? You say, confused. Smirks, there's no such thing as free power. Everything has a price to pay. So I ask you again, what will you sacrifice in order to obtain such power? Issei smirks, anything. It doesn't matter to me as long as they're safe. I'll pay any price. It was then Issei heard footsteps emerging from the flames, and out came a fair, yet pale skin and white, swept-back hair, which puts emphasis on the fierce, yet stoic expression on his face, as well as having blood-red eyes. He wore a black coat with light neon blue serpentine patterns and 3 separated coattails with slightly tattered edges. He was seen wearing a black sleeveless zippered turtleneck beneath his midnight blue formal vest. He also wears charcoal gray fingerless gloves, black pants and dark boots covered by teal gaiters. When Issei saw this man, he couldn't help but feel a feeling of relief or care. Like a sibling, he had an aura that screamed power, and that if you were to face him, that it would last your last day alive. Smirks, if you want power, then take it. Issei, serious, what's the price? Smirks, get strong and show me your motivation. Issei smirked at this, since that was his plan since the very beginning when he started his journey, and it would be a cold day in hell if he was going to stop now. It was then a portal opened behind the mysterious man. But before he went inside the portal, he looked over to Rainer and put on a soft smile which confused her greatly. Rainer, confused, why are you smiling at me like that? Issei smiles softly, I want to thank you. Brain, or confused, thank me? Issei smiles softly, If you didn't kill me, then I wouldn't remember my promise to Az and I wouldn't realize my true goal in life. Even though I probably won't entirely forgive you for what you did to me, I am thankful for helping me back on track on what I needed to do. Maybe in another life, we would have made things worked out. I just hope you know that I will never forget you. I believe it's time for you to go and move to a new chapter of my life. But that Issei raised his hand which glowed red in which rain or started to disappear. But the thing was she wasn't scared or panicking because of it. No, for some reason this made her happy and caused her to have a soft smile of her own. Just as she disappeared she did have one final thought. Raynare, mind, smile softly. You've really grown up, haven't you, eyes? Maybe in another life, we could have really made it work. If I'm lucky to go to another universe with you in it, I hope I can remember the version of you I just saw right now. Issei breath smirks. How do you feel? Issei smiles softly like a massive weight has been lifted off my shoulders. Smirks. So what will you do? I say, serious, to claim what is mine and to show you my motivation. But that the mysterious man gave an approving nod while smirking while Issei stepped through the portal. Meanwhile, outside Issei's mind, Issei's demonic power was rising and it seemed that it wasn't going to stop anytime soon. It was then Issei's eyes opened wide and they were glowing blood red. It was then everyone turned their attention to the Yamato which was reacting to Issei's demonic energy, in which the legendary removed itself from its cabaret and flew right towards it. Once the Yamato was in Issei's hand, he let out a demonic roar, which sent a huge shock wave of demonic energy that destroyed all of the Alto Angelos and knocked everyone else back on the ground. When everyone collected themselves, they saw Issei standing with Yamato in hand, but something changed with Issei, that his eyes were still glowing blood red and that there was a red glowing specter of a demon that sent chills down everyone's spine. It was then Issei spoke as if he was possessed again and sounded demonic again. Issei demonic serious. From that day forth my arm changed. A voice echo, power, give me more power. Siegfried scared, what the hell? Issei demonic serious, and if I become a demon so be it, I'll endure the exile, anything to protect her. It was then Issei with the Yamato performed an upward slash that caused a massive shockwave that destroyed everything in its path, to which the attack made it to outside the temple. While outside the temple, Ghislaine, who was accompanied by a young handsome man around Issei's age, he has black eyes and spiky black hair with a blue tint. His hair is long and has hung over the cover of his face. When Ghislaine and the boy saw the attack from outside the temple, their instincts screamed at them to run away from the amount of power whoever released that attack. Serious sensei, are we too late? Ghislaine worried. It would seem so, Sasuke. I'm counting on you that if it comes to it to hopefully put whoever it to sleep until we can get him contained. Got it? Sasuke. Serious, ya sensei. Meanwhile, inside the temple, everyone was frozen stiff at the power that Issei was releasing as well as the attack he just performed. But due to the force of the attack, rocks were starting to fall down from the ceiling. It was then Issei noticed that a lot of the large rocks were going to fall right on top of Leonardo, in which without hesitating for even a second rushed over to Leonardo to shield him from the falling debris. Seeing that Issei was distracted, Siegfried used this chance to escape, even if it meant leaving Leonardo behind getting punished by his superiors. All the while both Ingvald and Urza panicked when they saw debris fall on top of Issei. All the while Leonardo was shocked again that Issei protected from the debris and that he was using the spectral demon behind to keep it from falling on them. Is Issei demonic concern? You alright, kid? Leonardo nods. Is Issei demonic smiles. Good, Ingvald muffled Issei-san. Are you okay? There's a muffled, don't worry master, I'll save you. Issei demonic serious, you two get back. I got this, smirks and looks at Leonardo. You may want to cover your head and stay close to me, kid. Seeing Leonardo complying to Issei's instructions, he started to get up with the spectral demon, helping to push out some of the debris out of the way. Once Issei and Leonardo were out of the rubble, the demonic specter behind Issei disappeared, and Yamato along with its scabbard retreated into Issei's devil bringer. It was then Issei instantly fell to the ground, in which Leonardo tried catching him before landing face first. Issei breathes heavily. Thanks, kid. Leonardo nods. Ingvald Urza concern, Issei-san master. Issei surprised. It was then Ingvald and Urza ran towards hugging him, relieved that he was alive and okay. Inwardly chuckled at this since he couldn't blame them since he did give them quite the scare. It was then, noticed the two swords that Urza had and became curious and asked, as in, curious, hey Urza, where did you get those two swords? Urza smiles, oh, they flew from Siegfried's coat and came to me. It seemed they didn't like being with Siegfried and decided to be with me. Curious, but I don't know their names. Leonardo, Stoic, Graham and Bauman. Everyone confused. Leonardo Stoic, the red one is known as Graham and the other is known as Bauming. Both are dragon-slaying swords wielded by the original Siegfried. There's a smiles I see. In that case, I welcome you, Graham Bauming. It was then both swords glow rapidly, like if they were trying to let her know that they were happy to be with Urza. As he smiles. They seem to like you, Urza. Looks to Leonardo. Thanks for the info, kid. Looks around. I don't see Siegfried anywhere. Nervous, I saw him leave when you tried to save Leonardo. Annoyed TSK. Jackass, first he becomes a pussy and uses a cheap tactic to try and kill me, then he goes and abandons his teammate when it suited him. What a piece of shit. Looks at Leonardo curiously. Well, kid, if you have nowhere else to go, do you want to come with us? Leonardo eyes narrowed. How do I know you're not tricking me, and you only saved me so that you can make your slaves so that you can have my sacred gear? They say, smirks, smart kid, but no, I don't want your sacred gear, and I don't want to turn you into a devil. I couldn't even want to since I'm still technically low rank. I helped you because you're just a kid, and it just doesn't feel right that a kid like you should thrust it into this crazy world of ours. Even if you do happen to have an op-ass sacred gear that makes you essentially Sung Jin Woo from solo leveling. Leonardo tilts his head in confusion. Who is Sung Jin Woo from solo leveling? BSA shocked, what? You haven't solo leveling? Leonardo nods. SA serious, what about manga and anime like Bleach and Dragon Ball? Leonardo nods. SA panics, what about video games like Elden Ring, Monster Hunter or Call of Duty? Leonardo nods. SA cries comedically, what kind of crap have these sick bastards been doing to you? This is an injustice. You've been robbed of enjoying some of the greatest joys life has to offer. That's it, you're coming with us so that I can show you amazing things like anime and video games and such more. This confused Leonardo greatly since he was told by his leader, Cao Cao and others in the hero factions that every other race besides angels and gods are evil and are set out to destroy and corrupt humanity. But this boy, who he can sense as both a devil and a dragon, showed none of this, which made the boy the supernatural, not as black and white as it might seem. Nevertheless, he decided to see where this went and nodded in agreement, in which Issei smiled happily. After Leonardo agreed to come with Issei and his group, he asked Urza to grab the Red Queens so that he could store inside his pocket dimension. Once that was done, Urza grabbed onto Issei, relieving him from Leonardo. Issei breathes heavily. Okay, now that that's done, let's get out of here before someone shows up. And Issei, serious, hold it right there. Issei mind sighs. God damn it. It was then Issei and his group turned to see Ghislaine and Sasuke at the exit with their swords ready. Issei looks to Leonardo, curiously, friends of yours? Leonardo nods. Se serious. May I ask who you are? Ghislaine serious. My name is Ghislaine Didolia, and I'm the personal guard of Lady Asaka of the Hokkai faction here in Kyoto. I'm here to take you and your associates with us into custody. Issei couldn't help but sigh in annoyance at the predicament that he was in, but he was currently too weak to fight against these two. He believed that his best course of action would be just to go with them quietly, and hopefully, he would have the chance to explain himself on why they were in their territory. Issei sighs, very well, we'll go with you peacefully. I just want to let you know that we mean you no harm. Before Issei could finish his sentence, he completely passed from finally using up all of his energy and succumbing to fatigue. This caused both Ingvild and Urza to worry, but they were quickly relieved when Ingvild checked Issei's pulse and saw that he was just sleeping from being exhausted. Both Ghislaine and Sasuke were amazed that this boy was able to hold out for this long from running just on fumes. When Ghislaine inspected Issei, she sensed that it was this boy who broke the barrier and released all that demonic energy, as well as destroyed part of the temple. She decided to ask Urza who the boy was. Is Slain serious? Hey, you redhead. Is serious? Is Slane serious? That boy you're carrying, who is he? Is serious. He is my master, and his name is Issei Hyoudou, and he's this generation's Red Dragon Emperor. This shocked Sasuke and Ghislaine since they almost had the Red Dragon of this generation, but couldn't help but sigh in relief since if Issei was at full strength even with Sasuke's help, they wouldn't be able to beat him. But nevertheless, Ghislaine ordered Sasuke to help Erza carry Issei back to Yasha's palace. Meanwhile, deep inside Issei's soul, within the deepest part of Issei's soul where not even Ddraig, Natsu, or Nero could, two beings were watching what happened unfold to Issei and had satisfying smirks on their faces. The first being was that of a dragon, and the other a human. Smirks, I must admit, he's progressing pretty well if I do say so myself. Smirks, I agree, but I expect nothing else from our reincarnation, though I was surprised that my son came to help him claim you, Yamato. Friends, I'm more surprised that you haven't revealed yourself yet. I mean, come on, this a once-in-a-lifetime chance to actually meet and know your grandson. Or the legendary Dark Knight Sparta, chicken? Sparta smirks, believe me, I will meet Nero when the time is right, but not now, not yet. Besides, I should be asking you the same thing since this boy was able to wake up both of your sons. Or is the situation too hot, the great mighty king of the fire dragons? Igneel laughs, okay, you got me, Sparta, but just like you, it's my time to reveal myself yet. Even though Ddraig has probably already guessed that Issei is my reincarnation and Natsu is not that far off, grins even in death, those two have made me so proud and have brought honor to the name of Igneel. Sparta smirks even though your son gets annoyed and jealous that the reincarnation of his own father is getting women left and right. Igneel's sweat drops in deadpanning. I'm honestly blaming you since I'm pretty sure that it's you that's helping Issei getting so many possible mates. Sparta chuckles guilty, but you should also share some of the blame since he inherited your flames. Igneel nods, I suppose so. Sparta smiles, well, we should probably retreat further into Iz's soul before Ddraig or the others find us. Igneel nod agreed. Thanks for listening to my video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment below your favorite part. Sayonara, see you in the next video.